a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, everybody, here we go. Welcome to episode number 223 of Sports Cards Live. It is Saturday night, April the 13th, 2024. My name is Jeremy Lee, and I would like to thank everybody who tuned in last week for our After Hours episode, and a hello to everybody who is listening on podcast. Next Saturday on the show, our guest is it's actually the pre-Expo, the Toronto Expo preview episode. We got Mikey Singer coming on. We've got the Sports Card Cartel, and we've got Sam Genova joining us to talk about and get excited for the Expo. Looking forward to that. I'd like to ask you all to download the Center Stage app on iOS and Android for quick and accurate comps, card identification, and they just launched their marketplace. So please join me in supporting the great team they have and the innovation they are undertaking. Also, use protection, practice safe swaps. VeriSwap is an app and middleman service that lets you securely trade cards through the mail, insured up to $1 million. Download the VeriSwap app on iOS and Android and join me and VeriSwap founder Raymond Lee every so often on Instagram Live, where we do the trade desk and we go over some of the recent trades on the VeriSwap platform. Also, Filth Bomb Breaks offers live case and box breaks. They do so with responsibility and integrity. If you enjoy group breaks and are looking for a professional company to break with, check out Filth Bomb Breaks on Fanatics Live on 4 channels, 7 days a week. I want to shout out hobbynewsdaily.com. Check that out for daily hobby information and news. And Leighton, Sheldon, and Just Collect, unfortunately, no vintage spotlight tonight, but Leighton will hopefully be back next week. Also, I want to thank all of our loyal viewers and listeners. And if you're not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast, please take a moment and do so. And let's get to it. Tonight's guest, everybody, started in the hobby in 1987 when his mother would buy him a pack of Garbage Pail Kids every day after work. These soon became football, baseball, basketball packs, and he's never left the hobby. In 2010, he started making cleaning formulas, and then in 2018, he formally started Kurt's Card Care. His favorite players of all time are Tom Brady, Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays, and Michael Jordan. His favorite teams of all time are Michigan Wolverines football and the Detroit Pistons. He's originally from Ann Arbor, Michigan, currently hailing out of Clarkson, Michigan. Let's bring him out. Kurt Colone, welcome to Sports Cards Live. How are you doing tonight?
Thanks for the marvelous introduction, Jeremy. I'm excited now, and you got a cool song for your show and everything, man. I'm freaking jealous.
The song, I have to thank Victory Investments. He's the guy. He's on Instagram. His name is Sean. Great guy. He wrote, performed the video, did it all for me. So thank you to Sean, Victory Investments. Kurt. So yeah, man, I mean, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you. I know I've had a lot of people reach out who are excited to see you on the show tonight. Let's just sort of jump right in and get into a bit about your hobby history. I'm going to go to the comments and say hello to everybody shortly. But Kurt, let's just start and kind of, I just gave a bit of a preview. You started getting the packs with your mother after work, but take us a little bit through your hobby history from sort of the beginning until where we are now.
Yeah, you hit on the bullet points, Jeremy, but I was I'm 42 years old, so I was born in 82. So like at the end of, the 80s is when I started liking stuff and toys and stuff like that, So like my mom was a treasure hunter. My mom would take me to garage sales all the time, and we'd always pick up little things, but she would always bring home cards for me. And I quickly that led to me wanting to draw them. Like I love to draw, and so Garbage Pail Kids were cool to draw. And then I have a cousin who was a big card collector. And that was my first time being around vintage cards. They weren't that vintage though, right? Because it was the 80s. So like these cards were from the 60s. So they were only like 20 years ago, which is so weird. But I remember he would show me these. And he was like, I didn't know the players because I was a kid, but just the way Chris would talk about them was like brought me in. And then I just started doing like all the rest of us crazy collectors do. Just started like wanting to be around other collectors and wanting to like learn more about the players and buy more cards. And I don't know. Time's a weird thing, dude. I can't believe I'm 42 years old. I feel like I'm like 13 a lot of times, you know what I mean? And then I just enjoyed collecting, and I enjoyed I enjoyed it because it was just an escape for me. I lived a totally different life for a long time, and but collecting was always like my like kind of retreat. And that's pretty much the foundation of it. And then just and naturally, most people on this show will tune in to know me as the guy that cleans up cards or teaches people how to clean up cards and work on them. Um, I just I collect instruments. I've been a musician my whole life. I collect firearms. I collect memorabilia. My family was owned a body shop and a car dealership, so like we were always into like cool stuff. And then that's what naturally led me into like, how do you take care of old paper, or how do you take care of plastic or foils? And yeah, and then I'm just the type of guy that will focus on something, and I'll have to be really good at it or something, like or I'll bail. You know what I mean? So like I just got into cards as a young guy, and I always enjoyed like fixing corners or creases or dirty cards or whatever. But yeah, now it led me to probably why you invited me on your show and why people know me now. But pretty unique.
Yeah, you just said why I invited you on. Your name's been out there lately. There's no doubt about that. I think you're aware of that. I think most people are aware of that right now. I was listening to Dr. James Beckett's Sports Card Insights podcast just yesterday, and he had Brian Gray on for a two-part episode, or two different episodes, because his podcast episodes are like 13 to 15 minutes long. And you came up in those episodes a little bit. Nothing, it wasn't positive, it wasn't negative. It was just like, this is going on out there. And so, even Dr. Beckett and Brian Gray, two pillars of the hobby, incumbents of the hobby, are certainly aware of you as well. So yeah, I think the timing is good to have you on. And to, the approach I take with my show, Kurt, is, I'll have all sorts of guests on here, and I like to bring people on and get the audience who's willing to tune in to just, come in a little bit open-minded and get to know the person that is coming on the show. And, with that, as my regular audience knows, like we're not going to tolerate any negativity or disrespect in the chat. So we'll be watching it. So I'm just going to ask everybody in the chat to, be respectful. That's about it to me, to my guest, and to the rest of the chat. With that, Kurt, let's say hello. Justin Bode has joined us. Philly Joe is here. Looking forward to the episode. Baseball card curmudgeon, what is going on? Jordan Riker says, two hobby goats. I'm not sure about that, Jordan, but thank you very much. Lash Wine is here. Thank you, Sylvan. CMI says, came for Kurt. Foul Five Ball is here. Lapper is here. Lapper is here for sure. CM says, I'm undecided going into this. No worries. You don't have to be decided or undecided. Just come in, listen, and take it all in. Take it all in. Michael Ham says, what's going on? Fixing one crease at a time. Mookie Chilson, what a booking. Thank you. Travis Trail likes you, Kurt. Chad Shipper, welcome to the show. Really appreciate you being here. Everybody else, Triple V, I love my dirty cards. Very good. Orlando from A Collector's Dream is here. Good to see you, Orlando. Robert Scott, welcome to the show as well. Jordan says, quite an intro. Well, Jordan, you've seen my intros before. That's just how we roll here. Mark Santucci, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Jordan says, a pro sports team should hire me for their player intros. I'd be okay with that. Stukes is in the house. What's going on, Stukes? Good to see you. Frank Estella is here. The professor is here. Mr. Minty is here. Welcome to the show, Mr. Minty. Travis Trail says, if you don't clean your cards and you don't love them as much as I love mine, definitely a position to take. Lucky K is looking forward to the episode. Justin welcomes you, Kurt, to Sports Cards. I thank you, Justin, for welcoming our guest tonight. Jeff McMahon, hello. Bobby Baseball says, coming in open-minded. Welcome to the show, Bobby Baseball. Jeremy Foul Five Ball, welcome. Justin Bode again. Okay. I'm going to just sort of skip to the end here. I just want to, again, welcome you guys all to the show. I want to thank Kurt for coming on as well. And I mean, I'm just grateful that you're here, Kurt. And I want to know, how did Kurt's Card Care, the business, really come about? Like, how did you mentioned just before, you like to do things right. You want to clean a card. You want to preserve a card. You want to do it the right way. How did you transform from just doing that for yourself to making a business out of it?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Jeremy. And I'm glad that people are watching, and it seems like we're gonna have fun tonight. And anybody watching right now, it's not going to be a commercial, or I'm not trying to sell you on Kurt's card here. I'm happy that Jeremy's going to ask me these questions, so just know that, viewers, it's not going to be, I'm not going to tell you why you should or shouldn't. I'll just happy to answer your questions, but like, so how it came about, Jeremy, was I don't know, whatever, everybody's view into the hobby is probably a little bit different. There's people that are consistent, but the thing was, I was always into working at collecting, buying, selling, and trading like everybody else, but I always liked to work on a variety of cards. And by work on was cleaning up the surfaces. Being that I come from a family that owned a body shop and a dealership, taking care of little things was just not like, it was just nothing I ever had to like go out and find. It was there. It was something I did all the time. And so when I started doing that to cards, it started getting noticed. Like I started going, remember when Beckett came out, like card grading came out? Like I know that we're old enough to know that. It was probably like, I don't know, early 2000s when I found Beckett grading cards at card shows. Started seeing slabs, and I was like, oh, well, I got to get a slab now because I love Beckett. You know what I mean? Like, let's get some stuff. So I started sending in cards to get graded, which I was total noob, right? I collected cards, but I'd send them in and I'd get like, I remember I sent a bunch of 86 Fleers in. I got like 5s and 6s back. And I was like crushed because I saw these guys at card shows like 10s or something. I was like, holy moly, I got a lot to learn. So then I started searching for a company like mine. I figured, like in instruments, you go to a luthier if your guitar is messed up. If you screw up your car, you go to a mechanic or a body shop or whatever. So I'm like looking for card cleaning techniques, card fixing techniques. Nothing. It was like Maguire's Scratch X, Windex, or like, or don't touch it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't like those options. I'm like, I just don't think that there's got to be more to this. And I'm pretty good with like cleaning stuff, So like I started just doing all the standard stuff everybody starts with, starting water, just trying to do stuff. And I was making a little progress, but I was like, I know I can get better at this. So I made my own stuff. I started making formulas, blending card sprays, making polishes, taking like one thing I know that will screw up cards, because I screwed them up when I was using Maguire's Scratch X. I'd scratch them. Certain foils and vintage cards, you ruin them. And I'm like, I can't do this. This sucks. I don't want to use this anymore. I need to make like a polish. I need to make a formula that I can put on vintage cards, modern cards, and old cards, and clean the surface and not rip the plastic off of them or sand them down. Like that's important to me. And it didn't exist really. So I was like, all right, I made it. So then, what do you know, man? Started getting my cards from the 90s and cleaning up the fronts and not peeling off the plastic or sanding them down. But sure enough, that age stuff is coming off of them. And I was like geeking out, you know what I mean? So like, I'm like, this is so cool. I finally found a tool and I made it and it's good. So, you start doing that with your friends that are collectors, and it's like, we all find it exciting. And it was like, oh, this is great, so started doing that locally. And then I would start doing my friends' cards, and then your friends tell friends. Then you go to a show and you meet somebody from Vegas, or you meet somebody from Vancouver or whatever, you know what I mean? And, so anyways, you'll meet a lot of people. And I started doing all these personal cleanings. So I was like, wow, people really dig this, And so anyways, I would do that. And I got too many people calling me and asked me to work on their cards for them. And at that point, I realized, all right, I'm not the only one that wants to like a safe way to clean their cards, but also I like getting cards graded. So I was like, I don't want to like paint them up or trim them down or sand them up, because like you could physically make a card look really good, right? But I also want to get in a grade, or, be able to send it to, get to one of my favorite companies, PSA or BGS or whatever it may be. And so that was like my goal. That was like my focus. Like I want to be able to clean stuff up, restore it, get it back to its original condition. I'm not into coloring cards. I'm not into trimming cards. I'm not into sanding them down. I want to be able to like make some smart stuff that's safe to use on the stuff I like to collect. I made it all for me, man. It was just for me. And then the customers kept me real busy. And then I got real good at it because I was working on cards like every day. And then it was probably not even 3-4 weeks, maybe into the pandemic, where literally my phone was like ringing. Whenever we got into cards or something, all of a sudden, the pandemic seemed to bring out cards, right? So all of a sudden, like I'm getting phone calls like, man, can we send you 500 cards? All this. I'm like, no, that's not even what I do. I'm like, and I'm walking around with my wife. Our other jobs are like, in the air because we don't even know what the heck's going on. And I'm like, well, at least the collecting community likes to have their cards prepped, but I'm like, I can't do it all day, every day. Then I had guys saying, hey, Kurt, if you can't do all my cards, can you just make me like a demonstration or a video? And I'm like, I'll show you everything I do. So then I started making it. So if you watch my early videos, it's just me sitting here with my phone on, just talking, and showing off the stuff, how I'm doing it. And I made the Instagram page, and I thought it was just going to be, I don't know. I didn't think people, I knew it was cool, but I didn't even know how many people would really care, like I thought just a handful of people were just like, yeah, we just like to work on our cards, whatever. And it totally caught on. I had a lot of people reaching out to me from all over the world, all over the place, going, I've been always searching for something to work on to clean my cards. I don't want to go to the dark side or do anything wrong or mess them up. I still want to get them graded. I still want to I don't want to do too much, but there's got to be a simple way to do this. And I was like, I'm onto something. I knew that other people have these thoughts, but there was never like a clear way to there was no like steps or videos. So like I built Kurt's Card Care the way I wish somebody would have built it. So like when I was a customer, I could have found something like this that was like, hey, what do you collect? Hey, what's fixable and what's not? What should I not do? What should I, you know what I mean? I was like, really would have appreciated a mentor, because like you can find a great guitar guy that will teach you everything. You'll find a great auto mechanic that will teach you everything, painter, whatever. A lot of people will train you how to do trades, but there was nobody that would train me. So I just focused and just worked on this like an annoying amount of time, and it's fun and it's a cool story and it's cool that we can do this for a living now. It's a job, but I tell you what, my wife put up with a lot of this for a long time, but that's how it really got started. So like but when I told people, hey, I can't do this, I'm just flooded, I'm too busy with this, let me teach you. Sure enough, guys were like, show me how to do it, man, I'll do it. And that was really what took it to like right this second.
So do you and your wife have other jobs right now, or is it Kurt's Card Care full out?
This is our job, 8 days a week, 3 shifts a day, and we now have sorry, I'm gonna drop my phone so we don't get any distractions, but it's more than our full-time jobs. We have 5 employees that work for us here in production. I have another couple employees that work with me on the digital side of things. We've had to really embrace being full-blown entrepreneurs and really just making a living. The market has spoke, and we're here to respond, and that's really pretty much what we've done full-time for the past several years.
Yeah. Okay. No, interesting. It's really turned into a full of business, employees and all that. So that's you're employing people. That's certainly a good thing, I would say. I want to go to a couple comments that have come in. Philly Joe says, I want to hear that no trimming, no coloring, no adding paper, etc. And I want to get into a conversation with you a little bit later, Kurt, about what are the differences between preservation, restoration, alteration, and card care. But let's get to that shortly. Luigi has a quick question. Can I use Kurt's Card Care on PMGs, on precious metal gems? Can you respond to that?
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. Yep, it's a Fleer metal card. And my only thing, Luigi, is be careful around the edges of those cards. They're the most wildly awesome, valuable card that like Fleer made in like the 90s. I'm assuming you're talking about 90s basketball or 90s Fleer. If not, they make Marvel ones and stuff like that. So you could always message me directly. Anybody can message me directly. I always reply, but like if we're talking the basketball, sure. But don't poke around on this goes for any card collector out there working on their cards. If you see missing paint around the corners or edges, take that as a sign that says, don't touch me, so don't mess with that.
So Kurt's Card Care is a business. What exactly do you offer? What exactly can people and again, like you said, this isn't a commercial for Kurt's Card Care, but I'm curious. I think people would like to know, what is Kurt's Card Care? What are you selling? What are you offering?
Yeah, like I make 3 products and I have a million ideas, so like I make I should be more prepared. I'm not the best salesman in the world, but like, all right, so for example, most collectors will recognize this. This is made exactly because this is how I made my first one. It's always worked for me, so I've always stuck with it. I kick it old school when it comes to like my tools, but I make a card. If you guys ever see any of my videos where I'm using a little wand and cleaning up cards, I make a card polish for surfaces, and they're good at making a card clean. You know, like there's a lot of stuff that builds up on cards over the years. Card spray, I use this for a lot of cool stuff, from getting, like today I'm doing some practices. Like I'm putting autographs on Bowman Chrome cards and ink and stuff like that. And, you know, like, believe it or not, you guys, there's people who will forge autographs on cards, you know, try to sell them for more money. And a collector will get stuck with something stupid like this. But if you need to wipe off the autograph or something, there's ways, you know. So spray's cool for like removing, not like unwanted ink mainly, but like dirt, grime, junk, stuff that just builds up on cards over the years. I love vintage cards, and it's like, this is where, you know, it's a big buzz thing that's like, I'll, you know, get a card wet, soak a card. You know, frankly, it's the only way I know how to get a bunch of old dirt out of a piece of cardboard that's been soaking in dirt and atmosphere for 70 years. You know what I mean? So the card spray that. But probably something very simple but very helpful that I use more than anything is this thing. So like this, you guys, I simply call it the card tool. And this right here is a something so I told you earlier I like to draw, right? So I also for years when I was younger, I'd always like to use the back of my thumbnail or my finger if I had like an edge or a corner out of place. I'm sure every collector, right, is like, see that little edge and like, oh, let's flatten this thing out or whatever. Well, it's not the best way to go about it. So what I did was just had dowling that I liked the size of, and have a nice firm piece of vinyl clear tubing. So like I can see through it and I can see what I'm doing, and just make a little touch point on edges and corners. And this little guy is like awesome. So paper collectors, vintage collectors, I know it looks simple and you're like, what the heck is that thing? It's just a little extension to like kind of get edges and corners back in place. So that's that. So that's the stuff I make. So then here's my biggest concern, Jeremy, is people get something and they don't know how to use it. Or they get something and they're like, man, you know, I just don't know how to use it, or they quit, or they go out and like don't have enough information, mess stuff up. Those would be like my highest forms of motivation, is owning a business like this. So the way I can calm down my never-ending like voice is to make as many video demonstrations possible on a variety of cards from start to finish, uncut, so people can watch it, make their own decisions, whatever those are, and learn how to work on a card or not. You know, so I try to make every single scenario. And then if there's scenarios that you guys have watched, you're like, well, I don't see him doing this or that. There's a ton of stuff you can't do, you guys. Sometimes I think my company lately has been getting a lot more mentions and a lot more. It kind of sometimes I have to dial people back. They're like, I heard, man, I just got to put this stuff on my card and it turns into a 10. No, you know, no, I wish it was that easy. It's not. That's not the case. But you know, there is a large variety of small blemishes and little things that you can fix without, like we said, without sanding, coloring, trimming a card. That stuff never turned me on. It just seemed bush league, seemed easy, seemed like a hack. So I just always avoided stuff like that. So few products, tons of teaching. That's where I'm at, man.
Okay. So I want to ask you this, because you're talking about the polish, you've got the spray, which are concoctions. They are formulas that you've devised over time. There were some questions in the chat asking, you know, how long did it take you, or how many iterations of those products have you been through? You know, how long did it take you to get to where you've gotten with those products? And did you ruin any cards along the way?
Ooh.
And can your product as it is right now, if used properly, and by that I mean in accordance with your direction, can it still ruin cards?
Great question. So you asked me a lot there. So let's dial it down. All right. So the first point was, take me back, because you said a lot of good stuff there. But what was you started off with? People in the comments are saying, how long did it take you to develop this? A long time. I'll tell you that. Like, I don't have an exact count, but like I would say, do you know that like this looks easy? That this is a mind bender. Like I needed something. I didn't want to make 3 different sprays. That'd be easy for me. I could make 3, and it's like then it's so freaking confusing. I needed something that you could soak cards with and work on all styles of cards with. So card spray took a long time, especially to show you all the stuff I do with it. Card polish, this was a tricky one, because you guys, when it comes to when I was from a kid all the way through my teens, when we worked at the body shop, we'd make waxes, sprays, polishes, compounds, all kinds of stuff for automotive purposes. So the hard part is making something like this. I had to take out heavy like mineral oils, binding agents, colors, scents, abrasives. So like all my first like rounds of this stuff was like mush. It was just like applesauce. I could never get it to stay together. So like a ton, a ton. And like, but then by like, again, I wasn't making it for a business either, Jeremy. I was making it for myself, so I just like keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. It took me a couple months before I could even get something to stick like together and stay together without all the stuff I took out of it. So a long time, but and then I know nobody knows me really. I got probably some friends maybe watching, but like I hate letting people down. I'm like so obsessed with like I'll keep my mouth shut. But if it's something I'm passionate about or feel like I can contribute to, I feel the nudge to help. So like when it comes to card stuff, like I would never, I was happy to offer it to people after I worked on with it for years because, I figured I'm no dummy. I figured people would say, you'll never get a card graded. You made it look from this to this and you're never going to get it past grading. So you know how many cards I graded before ever showing any of this stuff to people? Tons, tons, tons. Did you mess up cards? I purposely mess up cards, Jeremy. I have to be able to push these cards to their limits till I know how long it takes to bust off, a surface. How long does it take rubbing in a weird way? What are things amateurs or people that never had an experience doing that they could possibly do to make mistakes? So I push every card that was like ever created and then every time people get excited about new release dates because they might probably want to get like a player they like or something, I'm like, cool, new release dates. Now I got to get some more cards and like test them. You know what I mean? So it's an ongoing thing I love to do. So I'm always testing cards. And the final thing I think you asked me, Jeremy, was like, do you mess up a lot or does it require a lot of screwing up cards? Fortunately, no. Fortunately, no. Like there are things that you can do wrong, and that's why I make the videos because it would be easy to make a mistake. You gotta, I can throw you the ball, but you gotta pick it up and run with it. You know what I mean? I can't look over your shoulder. And if you're buying tools and buying stuff like this, you have to take a few minutes to do some research and watch some videos. Even as soon as people buy from me, Jeremy, they get an email that tells them the do's and do nots, directions to my YouTube pages, to all my playlists. Like I'm obsessed with making sure at least I put these information out in front of them because it's super easy to screw up a card. There's totally different rules for TCG than there is for vintage or modern. So that's an absolute yes. So any card person that wants to prep cards or learn how to work on cards or just do cleanings and stuff like I do, you got to take some responsibility, and that is by doing some homework, practice. But the great thing is, man, like when I worked on vehicles or instruments or things like that, like if I screw up a 1954 Les Paul, that sucks, But if I had a bunch of base 1954 Les Pauls to work on beforehand, it'd be no sweat, So that's the great thing about cards is before you work on an expensive Bowman Chrome with an autograph on it, just put a fake autograph on one and soak this one first. See how it goes. You got to think a step ahead when you work in any type of restoration.
What sort of what outside of working at a body shop, a dealership, what sort of scientific credentials might you have to back up some of these well, not some of, but these products, or is it simply just testing, trial and error, and evolving that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that my credentials are probably pretty solid, based on what I've shared with you. Like growing up in a home where you worked or your family would make all types of different, cleaning products and stuff for vehicles. Like, I didn't go to a classroom and get a diploma as a chemist or anything like that because that's not important to me. But knowing how to build formulas and build compounds like this and having a love for like, not only do I like building formulas, like I've always been into like foods and flavors and music, and that's the stuff that you have to be very precise with. It's just my personality. So that, and then I don't think I'm sure there's others like me, but what's that cliche? You put 10,000 hours into something, you got to put 10,000 hours in to be a master at something. I have more than 10,000 hours of this stuff. You know what I mean? So there could be guys that could way smarter than me, way better at working on cards than me. There's a whole huge world of people that work in the hobby on cards that I just might be the most recognizable one right now, but it's something that's been around for a long time. I'm just trying to make it like not as intimidating and not, make it look like it's something you have to like explain or be, uncomfortable about. I think it's a very important, legit thing that we need to know how to take care of these cards and preserve them in the hobby.
Yeah, it is somewhat of a divisive type of topic. I'm seeing it in the comments, and I'm not going to get to many comments tonight. There's just too many of them. But it is one of those things that some people are for it, some people are against it. You've got a lot of supporters, and you mentioned a lot. There's a lot of people that have been doing it since you've started your Instagram page, and since you have formalized the Kurt's Card Care business. Have you had a lot of, or any other people who've been cleaning cards for the past any amount of time reach out to you and just pick your brain or encourage you or discourage you? What's it been like in terms of the response you've had from other people who've been doing this sort of thing for a long time? And I'm kind of asking because I'm curious, just how prevalent this is out there.
It's huge. It's a huge market, you guys. Like, and I would say that it's because I'll get hot take. Like, I have great relationships with my customers, but then there's clearly people that are not into card care or don't think it's a good idea, and it's fine. I mean, whatever, right? But there are a lot of people that are really good at card care and that did it like me, worked behind the scenes, did whatever they did to clean and prep cards, right? So like when I came out and started showing some stuff that I was doing, like with edges and corners and this, that, I did get people that were professional prep people to reach out to me and be like, hey man, why are you giving all the secrets away? Why are you showing people how to do this? Why are you doing that? And I'm like, I live in we can look at anything through a couple of lenses. One is scarcity lens, one's abundance lens. There's a million more cards, a million more collectors, and I'm never going to be able to, we can't work on everybody's cards. So when I would tell card prep guys, I'd be like, listen, bringing more awareness to like a huge part of the hobby. People not everybody's going to want to buy their own tools and work on it. People love to send their cards to a place and have them taken care of, So you guys are going to stay more busy. Hopefully I can bring more awareness to this and show people that we're trying to make a standard of what's acceptable of cleaning cards, and, I did get some heat from guys that were card prep people saying, don't show this off. Don't show these people. People that are all going to judge this. They, bunch of people that sit on a high horse, and they're the same people that will shit on this, are the same people that will show off all their PSA 10s that I fixed. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, you can't control everything, dude. And, as soon as you realize you're not the general manager of the universe, life gets a lot easier, So I said, forget it. The thing is, Jeremy, like when inside, when you believe in something and that like nothing's easy. Nothing's easy. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this was just a thing of like something I've always just been passionate about and wanted to do, and I believe in it, and it's been amazing, honestly.
I've had a couple questions come in that I want. One of them I think is really interesting, and I can't put it on the screen. It's I don't know where that one came from either. Grading companies, have the grading companies reached out to you at all to ask sort of about what your product does or how to use it, or are they interested in using it? Have any of them tried to hire you by chance?
No, not at all. No, not at all. I like grading companies. Smaller grading companies do, but I don't even know people would know the names. You know what I mean? It's like they're always like 3 letters. You know what I mean? So it's like I've had people say, hey, I own a grading company, or we're starting a grading company and we love your product or something like that. But like I've had and I can't really fact check any of this stuff because it's just Instagram, but I have people that will reach out to me that they'll say that I've had people reach out to me and say they work at PSA, and that they see a lot of butchered and like screwed up altered cards, and they'll say, hey, we've always liked what you do, and it's cool that you can share, you know, that we even have jokes here. They worked in like receiving or something like that. They're like, we have jokes. We'll get a bunch of dirty cards. And like, they should have called Kurt or, you know, and I'm like, if that's legit, that's cool. But I mean, I don't know if the grading, the thing was, and I, again, with all respect to grading companies, I didn't make Kurt's Card Care to like, really, I made it in compliance with grading. I didn't want to like teach people, you know, like I said, all the stuff that I find out of bounds. But there's a ton of people, Jeremy, don't even grade cards. You know, there's a lot of people just like to like clean them up and like display them and stuff like that. So I know a lot of people grade cards, but the grading companies never reached out to me. I think the one time it wasn't even a conversation. I'm sorry, I don't know I can't remember his name. What's the guy that operates PSA? The lead
Nat,
Nat.
Nat
Nat.
Turner?
Nat. So like I remember I got a message from him one time about, hey, how do you work? What do you do? How do you? I think it was like a upgrade, and he asked me like, what do you do here? And I explained to him it was a dirty front of the card, cleaned it down, wiped it down, and you know, it was enough to get a regrade higher from your company, and that was about it. But nothing like ever formal or anything. Like, no, they don't talk to me.
Do your products come with a warning like keep out of reach from children?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's right on there.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious. Someone asked that, so something similar to that in the comments. So listen, I know kind of what I've seen of Kurt's Card Care and yourself. You know, in preparing for this, we've met and, you know, spent some time together. So I have my perception of you and of Kurt's Card Care, but I want to know how you see things. So if you and I were old friends, if we knew each other from college, let's say, and I ran into you at the Starbucks, I said, Kurt, what's going on? What's the latest? How do you answer that? How do you see what's going on right now in your world with Kurt's Card Care?
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's an exciting time. I mean, because the thing was, I've always been. I didn't even like social media. I had to get a social media account for Kurt's Card Care, and like so I went from a person that doesn't even like to deal with the internet to like having to deal with the internet like a lot, you know. But it's like it's a good thing. But I tell you what, I literally answer questions all day, every day about cards, and I hope I'm helping. But like, so that's a good question though. So if I ran into a buddy, Jeremy, I'd just say, remember how I always was like infatuated with cards? And they'd say, yeah. And I'd say, well, it's a whole new level now, man. I'm like, now, you know, the stuff that I always was making and working on and going garage sailing every weekend and testing out all these cards. Well, now I got customers all around the freaking world that buy this stuff off me. And I teach people how to, you know, I coach a lot of different entrepreneurs and small businesses now. And I feel like I'm using my skills. You know, like if anybody out there watching this has ever had a job that you hate to admit, like you might be stuck in, and it's like it sucks because you have better skills, but you're just like you got to stay with this and you just got to do it for whatever reasons. That got to me for a while, and I was like, I need to use my other skills, and so like I would say, you know, I finally have been able to align myself professionally and personally with using things that I like to do, even though my job is very busy and I work literally every day. It's a blessing and I'm happy to have it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And, you know, I appreciate that. It's nice to hear how you see it. I just want to address the chat, guys. I'm going to turn off the comments for myself. I'm going to be ignoring them because it's just too much for me to stay on top of. So with that, I'm now, and just so you know, Kurt, I'm going to ignore comments at least for the next you know, part of the show, and just stick to the questions I have for you, because there's a lot of back and forth and I just can't keep up. So I'm not going to do that. You know, cleaning cards is something that some people like it, some people don't. I want to get into with you, you know, where are the lines between cleaning a card, preserving a card, restoring a card, and altering a card? Can you just sort of take us through your thoughts on each of those different different methods, and you know, how do you see them? Because we are in an interesting hobby here. You know, we are collecting cardboard. It comes in foils, and there's inks, and there's all sorts of different materials being involved, acetate and all that. But at the end of the day, we like to say we collect pictures of men on cardboard for what it's worth. And we're very particular about it, Kurt. The hobby has been very particular about it. And we have these sort of rules in place, these norms, if you will, that are unwritten, but people are passionate about them. And I think there might be some confusion out there as to, is cleaning altering, is altering restoring? Where are these lines? And for yourself, like, how do you feel about card alteration? Do you consider card cleaning to be altering? Where are the lines? Altering, restoring, cleaning, and preservation. If you don't mind riffing off of that for a while, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, sure. I'll do my best for you. I think the simple part was I never put any effort or any thought into trimming a card to make it look centered. I don't know. It always seemed like it just doesn't seem right. Like I never was into that, and I never even practiced it. I know that painting a card, like I'm okay with not being able to fix everything. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm okay with having a line of saying, yeah, that's permanent. You ain't gonna fix that. It's not a fixable issue. But I've always been into returning a card to like closest to what it looked like, or hopefully just what it looked like when it came out of a pack. Because why would we buy these cards if we weren't excited about them? And how cool is it to have them like close to back fresh? So I was always into that. Was my goal in mind. That was the big picture. How do you like do whatever you can? There's going to be some limits, but what can you do to like get most cards to look better? And here's the thing, Jeremy, like when you said there's a lot of unwritten rules are unwritten. You know what I'm saying? Like if sure, collectors are very passionate. That's obvious. But why I don't think collectors really even made any. I think we can all agree on some, but there was never like a forum. I don't remember anybody like having a calling of a meeting of saying, hey, we ain't ever allowed to touch these cards. Like, I don't remember that. I might have missed that one. Because now, if we're going to look to grading companies, the grading companies are the authority on restoration or cleaning cards. They got to cover their asses by saying you can't send us stuff that's like, trimmed or cut or colored or whatever like that. And I think it's a broad brush. I think that I would hope that I'm showing grading companies that there are ways to safely take care of a card that doesn't screw it up or hurt it. And it's actually in a way where they grade the cards. So like these people are good, you know what I mean? Like if you try coloring cards or trimming cards and you're telling me that you're getting these cards graded, I'd say, well, A, that's very weird. I don't know why you'd want to even be doing that stuff. And number two, like I just don't believe it. These companies are good. They'll they're hired to like find this crap. So like back to your question, I've just never been into like destructing a card. Don't cut it, don't color it. I don't know what else you could possibly do to it. You know what I mean? To alter it. That's like the big two in my mind. But I thought that there was such an open, such a spot, like a void of like, but you're telling us as collectors that you can't ever like maintain them or like make them look nice again. When stuff that blows me away is like it's most cards when you ask me, hey, do you ruin a lot of these things? And my answer was no, because there's only a few materials, like straight up paper cards or some foily cards. And once you learn the bases, you're kind of working with on the same stuff. So the thing is, when it comes to like cleaning up a card, wouldn't it by definition, if a card got like pizza sauce on it, that kind of altered it. You know what I mean? You're just wiping it. So the word altered, I don't even think was really introduced until grading companies would mark a card altered, which I agree with them. Don't trim them, don't color them. It's Bush League. But if you can like thoughtfully sit down and clean up dirty cards that have been like mishandled, or kids and collectors treat cards, and you love them and you get them and you save them and bring them back to life, I think that should be celebrated. I think that I'm hoping that me and my customers and people that are really passionate about cards, one day at a time, take these steps to show people in the community, or if grading companies watch, that they can say, all right, these collectors are onto something. And we look at these cards every day, and They aren't ruined. They aren't messed up. There's nothing there. There's no makeup on them. They look good. They look good. What if we can take those proper steps to get card care, some boundaries around it better? Because like you said, it was like an unwritten law, and unwritten laws aren't followed. You know what I mean? They're just enforced by people when it's convenient for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. I always think of alteration as, first of all, trimming, recoloring. You're either taking something away or you're adding something. And, I'm certainly not for that. I'd rather not have cards like that in my collection. I once did have a card in my collection that was trimmed, and I got an email about it, and I was told to send it to PSA for review, and they reviewed and said, yes, it's trimmed. That was actually, it was suspected. That was actually I mixed up my stories. That was actually a counterfeit that I had. That was then I had it listed on PWCC, and one of their viewers or customers said, I think that card's fake. So PWCC reached out to me and said, hey, do you mind if we send your card to PSA for review? And they did. I said, of course, go for it. They did, and it came back as PSA then deemed it to be counterfeit. The second time they looked at it, and they took care of me. Their guarantee worked out well, and I was happy with that. But trimming, recoloring, yeah, those are things that I certainly don't want cards in my collection that are like that. When we talk about cleaning a card, and I've seen some of your Wednesday night live videos you do on Instagram where you actually submerge your cards into your card cleaning solution, which I believe is your spray, but you'll make a pool of it. You'll put the card in there, and you will also show how, look, guys, the solution is turning a little yellow. We're seeing the dirt come out of the card. I was curious, and I've heard some people say, I don't know what's true, what isn't, but will stains that are removed with Kurt's Card Care, can they come back? And then I have the same thing about creases. When you use your tool and you're soaking a card, the creases are loosening up, and then you compress them and you try to get rid of or at least minimize these creases. Have you tested it over time to see will stains come back? Will creases come back? And I guess the big concern is kind of Topps Chrome cards that go green over time, that hulking phenomenon, or autographs in a slab that are graded at 10, they can easily fade over time, and now they've degraded in the slab. Can a card that is treated by Kurt's Card Care, and even with someone who's as good as using the tools as you are, submit a card, get it graded, let's say, or not, doesn't matter, the question still applies, and then have some of those defects or those creases and stains reappear? That's
a thoughtful question, Jeremy. I would, so let's start. You said a stain or a wrinkle. So let's do, now a stain. Stains are tough, but I would consider a stain like getting a stain out of a t-shirt, man. If you get a stain out of a t-shirt, I don't think it's ever coming back, but sometimes you can just if you have a big old ranch dressing stain, you might be able to lighten it up. So I've never seen a stain. It's either I don't know about a phantom stain. That would be a weird, and fortunately now, Jeremy, with kind of where I sit, and I have thousands of customers that I have a good relationship with and I talk to a lot. If there's ever anything that's an inconsistency or something that pops up, it's great, dude. I hear about it. And I'm a business owner that doesn't hide. I talk to every single one of my customers want to talk to me. And so I've never had a stain come back. I've never had any customers share that with me. But guys, I'll tell you what, if you're working on stains, especially on vintage cards, there's a good chance they all won't go away. You know what I mean? So I just want to give you a heads up. Some of those things are permanent, and so just know that, sometimes they won't go away. But I've never had it I just don't know how that would, it just doesn't make, scientifically, it wouldn't make sense. If something was physically removed, how could it come back? You know what I mean? But Jeremy, here's a good thing. Why I don't use abrasive stuff. Because, man, maybe, because, I don't know everybody's situation with card care or what they've tried or done. But if you used say a polish that's like a sandpaper polish, like a Meguiar's or something like that, and you sanded down a surface real good on a card, you could probably get it to present real good. But now you cut the surface, you thinned out the surface real good, right? So then as time goes by, things could happen. I'm assuming that, right? So I do think, because if you exposed a whole new like layer of plastic and you thinned it out, yeah, that could be some sneaky thing. You know what I mean? That's why I imagine like if somebody sanded down the front of a card and then years back go by and you get like a dull spot or something on it. Yeah, I imagine somebody could do that. But not by soaking a card. I've never had that. Wrinkles, kind of the same thing, man. Like wrinkles are tough. So it's like, and even with my pictures, I try to take the closest pictures I possibly can. And if you guys ever, like even right here, I'm sitting with cards, like I got some wrinkles out of this, but I still got a 4 on it. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm like getting a card from like a 2 to a 9. Like I've never been it's not even possible, I don't think, when it comes to vintage. But when it comes to wrinkles, sometimes like you can soak a card, you can dry it perfectly, but those damn things are just so embedded in the card. Say you had 8 of them, now you still have 3 of them left. Yeah, that's kind of part of the gig, you know. So I've always just been gone into the approach of this of, can I make a little improvement? I love doing. I like the time spent. I like working on cards, just like I like playing a guitar. You know what I mean? So it's just like something I like to do. So I haven't. But here's the good news: I rarely ever go backwards. Sometimes you can't do a damn thing, but it's usually not a risky thing when you have a little foundation. It's just sometimes they just don't all clean up the way you wish they all would. You know?
Yeah. I've seen some cards, like vintage cards from the 40s and 50s. Like you mentioned earlier, like it's kind of, for you, it's fun to get a card back to pack pulled state or as close as you can to it. I like my vintage to look vintage. I like my vintage to look its age. I think that adds character and fun to it. And one thing I don't like on a vintage card are borders that look like they're whiter than they could have been when they came out. And I once heard, listen, I don't know much about cleaning cards or altering or anything, but I've heard about bleaching cards before. And it's really a weird concept to me that people bleach a card to make it lighter, to get those borders looking fresher. Now, I don't. So here's a question for you. I have several questions, but what is the difference between bleaching a card and soaking a card in Kurt's card care solution? I'll start with that one. It might be a silly question, but I'm curious to hear what you say anyway.
Yeah, it's not a silly question. I just don't have like the best answer for you, Jeremy, because I would encourage anybody out there. Bleach scares the hell out of me, so I would never. But again, there's so many collectors. There's probably a guy watching this right now going, "You amateur! All you do is add 3 little drops of bleach to this, and then you shake the card up 10 times, and it comes out white." And Kurt's teaching people how to do it, and it takes 5 days for those guys. I can do it in 10 minutes. I'm sure there's people that know how to do that type of stuff, man. Like, again, like my account, Jeremy, I have been contacted by people that don't have a filter, and they're like, from the dark side. You know what I mean? You know, like there are some people that prey on freaking collectors and do some crazy stuff, you know, and it's just like, that's what the block button's for, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know. I know there's probably a lot of ways to get something to look a different way, but through my process, like I've just always used the card spray because I borrowed a lot of these disciplines from other paper restorations. Like if anybody's never, and I don't expect people to probably watch like a lot of poster restorations or cardboard restorations or book restorations, but I love that stuff. I love it. I could watch video. That's why YouTube is so great. I could watch those shows all day long. So I've really borrowed a lot of paper care techniques from people that are like awesome at it. And you'd be surprised how many people you can reach out to that work at, that restore books, that restore documents, that you can just reach out and geek out with and be like, "Hey, I work on cards. Tell me what you're doing. What are you doing?" And like, I just always, a lot of people are happy to tell you their stories and processes, you know? So I've learned a lot by talking to really, really smart people. So bleach would be a bad idea. So I don't care what you restore. Don't touch the bleach. No smart people ever told me about the bleach. All right.
I always wonder, how do you just keep it to the borders anyway? How do they keep the rest of the card, free from touching the bleach, so you don't fade a key part of the design?
Some cards, like when you clean, like some cards, like a 48 leaf, like when you clean up a 48 leaf, the borders come out pretty clean. but that's what they looked like. You know what I mean? That's what they looked like when they came out. You know, and it was, and none of this, Jeremy, required like any like scrubbing or pushing. Like I just let it set and rest, and then get the moisture out of it and get it back in good looking shape.
Does a card that you soak in your solution, after you're through that process, does the card, like, is there a way for a collector to look at a vintage card, and I'll use vintage because it's just simple cardboard, and say that card went through Kurt's card care or was submersed in Kurt's card care spray? You know, as a collector, can I be identified? Can I be trained? Are there signs that I could look for?
That's a good question too. Um, no, I don't think that it would look like. I think you would just like. I mean, maybe if you're a card prep person and you looked at it and go, all right, well, it's like a 4. I don't see any corners. I don't see any more room for improvements. Everything that's been improved looks like it's been improvable. I don't know. I don't think so, because it just looks good. Like these cards clean up back to white pretty well. But then I'll work on a 33 Gaudy and it will just lighten up a little bit. But I would say not really. You know, I think the only in the before and afters. You know what I mean? Only when you see like what it looked like and then what it looks like now. Because, you know, really, like if you think about the materials of these cards, paper, they've been through seasons all year round for 50, 60, 70 years. They've literally soaked in so much of the environment that they're filthy, you know, unless you're one of those lucky guys that has like the all PSA 8s, 9s, and 10s in your vintage. Like those are, you're a rich, lucky person, you know what I mean? But you know, I represent pretty much the blue collar crowd and the guys that you know, aren't afraid to use their hands and brains.
You mentioned earlier that, you know, you reach out or you borrow techniques from other areas of ephemera, and you know, it's always been curious to me, you know, and I've been collecting cards since 1980, and I love all cards. I love cards from 1888 to 2024 now, and I've been aware that, you know, we card collectors, and I'm saying we, the greater we, generally speaking, maybe or maybe not the majority anymore, I'm not sure. We kind of treat our hobby different than the way comic book collectors treat theirs or approach theirs, and book collectors, rare book collectors, because it seems like books and comics in those communities, it's everybody seems to accept, you know, restoration and even adding back paper to certain pages and that kind of thing, you know, fixing up the spine of the book. Do you have any idea why is it that the card collecting community is more fickle than other paper collectible communities like books and comics? Why are we so, not all of us, but why
Right.
are some card collectors just like staunchly like, nope, I don't want my cards touched by human hands. I want them as I get them, and that's it. Any thoughts on that, Kurt?
That's a great question. You know, I wish I could ask that question to like a variety of people that like either like card care, are in the middle, or don't like it. You know what I mean? Because like that is a good point. But I think though, like in comics and in books, someone stepped up at one point that knew what they were talking about and dealt with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and seen it through because they believed in it and they made it a standard. And as cheesy as that sounds, I feel that calling. I feel that like I don't. And the thing is, people want to, you know, talk shit to me, and they've never even tried my product or used it, but they don't like the idea of it. The point is, like, I'm fine with it. I'll take it. You know what I mean? I think that the market has spoke for itself. We went from like just, you know, a small blip on the radar to there's a reason why so many collectors bond with me and connect with me all day, every day. There's a reason that people are ordering my stuff all over the world. And it's not just the narrative of, oh, it's just to clean a card and get a grade on it and sell it to somebody that doesn't know it's clean. Like that's the lane, that's like the most easy, that's a boring story. So the thing is, I think, Jeremy, that most people don't like something until it's popular. And, you know, I think that that goes for a lot of things. And I think that with all things said, I know that cleaning up cards of all things, where it's just, to me, it's just like it's a no-brainer. It's a fun pastime. It's a cool thing to do. I know that some people have a hard time with it, but I think that one day at a time, I'm happy to make videos, stay in my lane, show people how to work on cards, answer their questions. And I believe that all it takes is one person or a couple people to get it rolling. But that's why, man, I didn't want to be like, send all your cards to me. I'm like this like Wizard of Oz or whatever, what it's, and then I'll just turn them all out. Screw that. I wanted to get everybody involved in the movement, because I knew that if we could get thousands of collectors in on taking care of their cards and working on it, that's not just this one guy over here saying it. It's the market always speaks for itself. It always speaks for itself. And I don't try to control that. I just react. I listen to my customers and do what they want. So like, I do think, man, like early in this call, you said James Beckett and Brian Gray are talking about it. Those are guys I used to talk about. Now they're talking about me. Like, we're making steps, man. We're making
I think there's a lot of people talking about you lately, Kurt, especially since that, and you mentioned that, it's not something that was really out there. I've been aware of Kurt's Card Care for, I don't know, 12, 18 months, something like that, whatever it is, since you came across my radar. But it seems to have there seems to be so much more attention on Kurt's Card Care ever since that Victor Wembanyama card was and I don't know who's who in that video, but the owner of it at the PSA office or the collector's office basically shouted out Kurt's Card Care after they got a PSA 10 on the 1/1 Victor Wembanyama. I saw earlier when I was still looking at comments about half an hour ago, a couple of people asked, did you work on that Victor Wembanyama card? And I don't know if you didn't, but do you know who those people were? Like, what can you tell us about that, if anything?
Yeah, it was a big surprise, that's for sure. And no, I didn't get to see the Victor 1/1. It'd been a cool one though, man. I'm a fan of that guy. He's a good basketball player, dude. I like him. I like him even more now. But but no, they were just happy customers, man. And that's the thing. Like, all I can do is stay in my lane and focus on me. But like, the thing is, you guys, like, as collectors, we're very trustworthy people. We're loyal. We stick to our brands. I mean, I guess we don't got a lot of options, but like, basketball cards get more expensive every year. Quality goes down every year, and I can't be told different. That's just the way it is. And then, like, I remember when you get a card graded for like, what, $10 or $14 or something like that. And now there's grading companies get value-based grading. So there's probably an incentive to get a higher score on there and get a higher bill. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then again, the unwritten rule of we're just supposed to sit around and like look at cards and just accept them as they are. I don't think so. I don't think so. Don't cut them. Don't clean them. You have every right to, or don't cut them and don't color them. You have every right to clean the fronts and backs. I made my stuff specifically for plastics, specifically for papers. Like, I tell you guys, it's thought out. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, the Victor Wembanyama and stuff like that. I was definitely surprised, because the thing is, I don't have any problem with PSA. I don't have any problem with, I don't know, like, we just don't. I don't. But I was surprised like the rest of the world when I saw that.
What impact what happened? Like, what has happened since then to your business? Did that blow up the business? Was it just a marginal impact for a couple of days, or was that a big deal for the business?
Yeah, it was a big deal. I mean, we got some more orders, that's for sure. A lot of questions. A lot of yeah. I'll tell you, man, it's weird. Like I said, I was never even really a part of the internet. And I can go to a place in public and be quiet and not say a word. Then all of a sudden you go on the internet, and it's like my company's name is everywhere. And it was like, so a lot of happiness, a lot of support, a lot of people talking shit and hate and stuff like that. I'm like, God, all this over cards. But I keep my big picture. I'm like, one day at a time, I'll deal with all this, because I get tons of love and tons of respect from my customers. So it's like, if trolls don't like me or want to talk crap, like, whatever, you know what I mean? But a customer like me enough to go into the PSA headquarters, get $1 million card grade, and give me a shout out. Yeah, thanks. I'll take it, because that's how good it sometimes feels to have a little control over your collectibles. That's the epitome of it right there.
You've referred to your customers several times. I'm curious, what sort of, and I don't know if you track this, but what sort of reorder rate do you have? How many customers do you have are regular customers versus one time?
That's a great question, and I'm very, very dialed into everything, every metric like that, as you could probably tell about me. It's at an all-time high, which is my favorite number. With monthly now, we're over 25% of our orders are from previous customers. So I worked in music and entertainment like my whole life, and it was like gig after gig after gig. Sometimes you do multiple gigs for the same firm, group, family, whatever. But it was like once you're in and out. It is so incredible, I tell you, to anybody out there that has this situation, to have a company where you have repeat customers and people that stick with you and stay with you. It's like I'm very thankful for that. So those of you that are seeing this, you know who you are, and it's just like the guys that spend a lot of time talking with me, strategizing with me. My customers push me to be a better card man. That's I can't let these people down, So it's a special thing.
Well, 25%. So does that mean that you're not, are you losing 75% of your customers? Are they buying once, or you just haven't seen them yet again?
No, it's actually a lot of new customers, but that's a huge number, Jeremy, compared to like the thing is, you can be a customer of Kurt's Card Care. This thing, you could have this for probably a year before you need to reorder. I hook it up, so you can do probably 200 and some cards out of one can of polish. So, if I wanted to make them little and stuff like that, where people buying off me every 5 days, that's annoying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I for sure. You want to work,
I love my customers. I'm a collector, man. Like, it's very valuable to have customers you like, because that's another thing I'll say with like entertainment. I didn't really have to like the customers. We just had to show up and rock the place, But when it came to your card customers, and it's something I'm very passionate about, it's it's very, very important to me to have good rapport and good communication and being accessible to them.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the repercussions of people using Kurt's Card Care or any card care, card cleaning, card prep service is that I think it is effectively increasing the populations of higher graded cards. A card that was once a 4 might now be a 6. 8s might become 10, 7s, 9s, 9s, 10s, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think of? I've seen some narrative that suggests that is sort of not a great thing for people who hold those cards in those upper grades, because the populations are going to grow over time because people are cleaning their cards. What do you think about that mindset that some people out there are employing?
I think that's a mindset of scarcity, and I just don't buy it. It's the only people that would celebrate a low pop count would be the person that has one, but you got a card in front of you that's an 8 with, marinara sauce on it from 1979, and now you got to wipe it off, and now you should, go ahead and do it. I do. Again, I live in abundance. I don't think that's how how bastardized these pop counts are already, Jeremy. You know that. You know what I mean? Like, it's If it's a 10, it's a 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's a hot card, if it's a hot card and you're worried about selling it, somebody's gonna buy it.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. I mean, there are cards that are of such low pop that one more card to the population could impact the value of the other cards in the population. Like an O-Pee-Chee Gretzky rookie, there's only 2 O-Pee-Chee PSA 10s. If a third one was introduced, that could impact the other 2. But is a situation like that a concern to you?
No.
Because you live in abundance.
I just don't. I mean, the thing is, like, now I get all the credit or all the not credit for that. Like, what about the human element of the dude grading the card?
Right.
Like, what you can, I'll you guys can watch my channel. I'll break out 8s and 9s and do not a damn thing to them and send it back and they get a 10. So, like, is that my problem, or is it the company that I pay to grade the cards?
Yeah, I think, and that's just the nature of grading, human grading. It kind of is what it is. I think most hobbyists recognize that, and you just sort of proceed accordingly.
I'll tell you this. It's not a. it's not a commercial for my company when I tell you this, but if you have a PSA 6 or 7 Gretzky rookie, I don't care if you soak it or do whatever, you're not going to turn it into a 10. You got too many
No.
you got too many technical demerits on it before, like like we geek out on, man. Like, so people, the dudes holding their 9s and 10s, they don't need to be worried. They don't need to worry. It's going to be okay, guys. Here's what me and my hardworking crew does. We like buying 1s, 1.5s, 2s, spending some good time doing this stuff, enjoying ourselves, learning about the players, learning how to do a new trade or a new craft. That's what we're into. So if anybody's worried about seeing a bunch of new 4s in the marketplace, sorry, but the more people get into cleaning up older cards, that's probably you're gonna see more 3s and 4s than 9s or 10s.
So card cleaning has been all the rage, especially since the Victor Wembanyama episode back in February. But I wanted to ask you your thoughts on another video that came out a while back now that did kind of shake the hobby. And that was when Evan Mathis showed on TikTok, I believe, how he goes about trimming cards. And so I'm curious, did you see that? Were you aware of that? Yeah. And what was your reaction to that, him doing it? And how do you feel about what he does to cards and how he, it seemed like was trying to normalize it a little bit? What was your reaction your internal reaction to that event?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I do remember that, Jeremy. And I guess, from a business perspective, I was happy that he made the video. I don't know him, and I pass no judgment on the guy. I don't know him, but here's what I can tell you, because people have no problem telling you how they feel about card stuff. I don't like the hustle. I don't like trimming cards. And even if it's like, I think the thing was he made it like technical, like, this card's big anyway, so it doesn't hurt to trim it down, because it's still going to fit in this normal size. I just don't like it. You know what it was? I thought it was it was the exact opposite of because when people don't know much about my company, or, pick up 3 or 4 bits of data, then they think they know the whole damn picture. I think that they think that's what I'm cool with, or what I'm into. And when that came out, I think it was a really good boundary setter, because I was like, I am exactly not those things. So if you watch that, and you know what, I'm open to saying I didn't like it. That's not what I would suggest doing to any card. But that guy was good, right? That guy knew what he was doing. And think about it. Someone taught him that, because wasn't he, you said, a professional athlete?
I believe, yeah, he played in the NFL.
So, dude, talk about how hard it is to be in the NFL. So then to be, he trained his whole life being a football player. So he had to train to learn how to do this. So that's just a good representation to all the collectors out there, that there's tons of people that wake up and do this all day, every day. You know what I mean? So it's like, it sucks that happens, and it sucks that people trim vintage cards, because, I'm cool with an off-centered vintage card. I like to make it a little bit cleaner, you know what I mean? But, I liked it because it was something I could point to at least and say, hey, there's a lot of things you can do to a card. I know it can all be confusing when you're starting to learn about it, especially if you've never prepped cards or cleaned cards. But basically what this dude's doing, I'm not going in those lanes. I'm like sticking over here, So like, since I've been, and me and you, Jeremy, got to talk a little bit, like, there's definitely a dark side of the hobby, and I felt like, that of people that counterfeit cards, trim cards, fake autos, all this stuff, and I just felt like if we never step up and like show card care, what I feel, in a clean, safe, normal, ethical way, that it's just always going to be clumped in with that stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's a reasonable sort of perception to have, and I'm wondering, when and if the majority of the hobby will see the separation between those two types of activities, what you just referred to as ethical cleaning and treatment of cards versus what would be unethical trimming, recoloring, counterfeiting, fake autos and all that. So yeah, I kind of wonder if that'll ever happen. And, I don't have I was going to say I don't have a horse in the race, but I have a collection of cards. So I guess to an extent I do. And I mean, I'm certain that among my approximately 500 slabbed cards in my collection, I'm certain I have trimmed ones in there that got past the graders. It's happened. I wonder if I have any counterfeit still. I know I used to have one because I was alerted to it and
Right.
sent it back for that review. But I just wonder if if our hobby will ever go the way of comic books and rare regular books, to where cleaning is completely normalized and accepted by even the staunchest detractors from it right now. I don't think that'll ever happen because some people are so set in their ways, and that's fine. I think we're all entitled to the way we approach this hobby and what is acceptable versus what is not acceptable to us. But I do still wonder, if this card cleaning movement that you're the poster boy of, you're the face of it right now, like it or not, Kurt, you're the face of it right now. How deep is it going to go? Do you have any feel for that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot. It's a big responsibility, Jeremy. And like, I want people to know that, again, whether you dig it or don't, or you're in the middle, like I take this super seriously. And, it's like, I take it really seriously. I love cards. We all dealt with it probably. If you're still alive watching this show, you've been through some seasons. You've dealt with some shit. Like I've always hugged on to cards because I don't know, they just took me to a different place, and like I love them, right? And I know that other guys, we could get 40 collectors in a room and we could all collect for 40 different reasons. And that's one of the most beautiful things about like collecting whatever you collect, So like I don't expect, Jeremy, there's no company or no politician or no band or no athlete that everybody likes. There's no such freaking thing. So I'm not aiming for that. I'm aiming for, and I'll tell you, man, we're on the doorstep of this. Like the market has spoke. Like we are a busy business, and people are cleaning their cards. Like I've even have guys that are now working with hobby shops where they've made positions where they're working on cards for people and I've been coaching guys up that are taking on customers now. So the thing is, guys, it's here. The market is asking for help and advice and ways to preserve and repair and clean their cards. And I take that as I'm proud to be a part of it. It's that simple.
Who are some of your best customer, biggest customers? Like, do you have customers who are group submitters, are mostly private collectors, grading companies, manufacturers? Like, can you, without violating any privacy sort of thing, can you give us an idea, well, maybe on a no names basis, of sort of like, who are some of your best and biggest customers?
The best and biggest customers are the 80% of guys that have regular jobs, probably love to come home and work on some cards. Like my number one customer is the average collector that loves to collect cards, submits a handful here and there, loves kind of wax, going through all the old wax and stuff like that. Like that would be like the meat and potatoes. My orders are single guys. Now more and more local card shops and vendors reach out to me. So I would say that we're helping supply guys that sell at shows, trade shows, and at their local card shop owners. Now we're picking up more retail business all over the country and over the world. We have retailers now in Canada, the United Kingdom, Germany, Singapore, Australia, Japan. I'm even have collectors that will get my videos and translate them into like Mandarin for their customers. It blows me away, dude. It blows me away. And like it's a wonder. It's, again, like earlier when I said I feel that I get to use like multiple skills and stuff in a day. It's funny that it's all based around sports cards. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not saving lives over here, but I'm maybe helping people have a little bit more fun, and like that's priceless. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, my average, my normal customer is a guy that probably has a similar story to me, like always liked cards, couldn't go out and buy all the most expensive ones, but just likes the player more than the grade, but also would like to know how to like, hey, can I make it look a little bit better? You know, it makes me feel good. I'm a hands-on type person. So that'd be kind of like the breakdown.
Yeah, no, interesting. You know, LCSs are now selling your product on there with their other card accessories. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah,
That-
a lot,
yeah,
you know? And
that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
yeah. So like that's a big part of the business. And then yeah, it's wild, man. It's really cool to see that how many, because I would go around talking to collectors before in my teens, 20s, 30s, talking to them, hey, do you have any steps you do to prep your cards or anything like that? And most people look at me like I was asking them if they had like, you know, if they were selling you know, cards I never heard of or something like that. Like, huh? What? You know? And like now it's like I get pictures every day. People's taking pictures of their workshops and like their setups and their toolboxes and all stuff. And it just blows me away. I'm like, this is all stuff I sat and did forever. Now all these people all over the internet are showing me their little setups that look just like mine. And it's fun. You know, it's cool to see. It's inspiring.
I just want to, welcome everybody to the show. And I apologize. I haven't had my eyes on the comments for about an hour or so now, but we got over 60 people watching us on X right now, formerly Twitter, Kurt. So I want to welcome everybody who's watching on X and YouTube, of course, and Instagram as well, where you come and go. And if you're watching on Instagram, feel free to come over to YouTube and you can come join the chat if you want, which we've about 250 comments, Kurt, have come by that I haven't seen yet. I'm going to watch them later. Possibly I'll watch them later just to see, but I wouldn't be able to keep up. So I thought I'd just stick to my questions tonight, and I hope that's okay. But with you, Kurt, because plus we could go for 4 more hours here, I think, if we were taking all the questions and comments from the chat. I want to ask you though, do you get DMs, phone calls, emails from people saying, "Hey, Kurt, can you fly down to my place in Florida or fly down to my place in LA or Scottsdale and come work on these cards for me? I'll give you 50 grand. Come on down for 5 days and work on my collection." Is that happening for you these days?
That is a funny thing to say. And yes, the answer is yes. I do get asked that. And it is kind of lavish, like you said. I haven't got the 50 grand offer. That might have to, I might have to think about it at that point. But yeah, and I tell you what, as like a person of habit, it tweaks, and I'm like, no, I can't leave. No, I'm not going anywhere. The thing is, like, I have to stick to the system I built. I can't be everything to everybody. I'll answer every question. I'll answer every message. You know, if someone hits me up and is like, I hate you, like I'll just block you. You know, I don't have any time for that shit. But like if anybody asks me a legit question, I answer. But I can't fly to your house and teach you. But I have been getting a lot of serious requests of like, hey Kurt, can you like rent out a room like a day before the national or after? Could we have a seminar? Could we do a master's class? Like I listen to the market, you know what I mean? I don't come up with these ideas, but if I get asked something 50 times, I have to start thinking to myself, people really crave this type of leadership and like this type of brotherhood, you know? So I can't say no, never. I can't fly to somebody's house and do their work because all my tools are right here. And I don't like to leave my house because I'm weird like that, you know, but, and I'm private, I guess not anymore, but like I usually am, you know, but I'll answer all the questions. But yeah, I do get some interesting invitations. You know, I get to meet a lot of cool people that have really cool jobs, you know, like, again, like I think being a plumber is as noble as a job as being a professional athlete because they're both super needed. You know what I mean? But like I do get cool customers with unique jobs that will be like, hey, well, come on down, hey. And it's tempting, but I'm like, you know what, I'm here to teach you how to do it. I'm not here to do
Like
it for you.
What kind of jobs?
When I say in cool jobs, like, you know, I have customers that are a lot of athletes collect cards, lots. And they, and not only do they collect their own cards, a lot of athletes collect Michael Jordan cards. I can tell you that. You know?
Really?
Yeah. Famous athletes, you know, it's the great part about having like famous customers is they'll hit me up and we just talk about cards. Like, I don't have to like act like I know much about their football team or whatever like that. Cause number one, I probably don't, but like, we can just bullshit about cards. And I think it's a relief because like they're talking to me for advice, you know what I mean? Or guys that are like, I love music, you know what I mean? So like, um, I don't think Josh will get mad at me, but like I posted a video today of a guy, customer feedback, and it's a guy with an overhead video cleaning a card real quick, and it goes from a PSA 6 to a PSA 9. That's the lead guitarist from Stone Sour. So that's Jeremy, or that's Josh Rand's video. And like I could talk to Josh about, being in a cool band and touring the country and be like fanboy on them. But no, we talk about cards. You know what I mean? Just cool jobs. I get to meet a lot of cool people.
Well, right on. I mean, that's certainly maybe it's a perk, maybe not. And sometimes they want to ask you to come down to help them out. That's
maybe in the future. I write everything in pencil. You know what I mean? Because you never know. Life changes quick. I can tell you that.
No, for sure it does. The National Sports Card Convention, Sports Collectors Convention, I should say, is coming up here at the end of July. Are you going to be there? Are you going to have a booth? Are you going to be selling your product, walking the floor, speaking on any panels, anything like this? What are your plans for the National this year, Kurt?
I just go and hang out. Nobody ever. I don't know. I don't know too many like personalities inside the house. I'm excited to meet you, Jeremy. You know what I mean? Like I know my customers pretty well, but like I don't know the people that promote the National or anything like that. So I've never been asked anything like that, but I'd be down for it, But I have made really nice relationships with a handful of card show promoters around the country that invite me to their card shows, and I come in like this at the end of this month. I'll be heading out to Philadelphia. There's a great group called the Fishtown Card Show. I'll be there, and the promoter's Brett. He's a super nice guy. My good buddy Joe does a show in Rhode Island, the Crown Jewel show, and I'm excited for that. So like, I get to do some traveling. I never set up as a vendor because I'm way too like, most of the people at card shows are like customers of mine, so I like to go around, give everybody a hug and a handshake and just connect with everybody. I seem to know a lot of the people that are set up selling. So I just kind of network and shop and enjoy the ride.
All right, cool. Now here's a question that's kind of from out of left field, but I want to hear what you think about it. And it's interesting. I saw a tweet today. I don't know if they're called tweets now or if they're called X's, but anyway, I saw a tweet today. I don't know if it was tongue in cheek or not, but they were basically saying, card collecting is an addiction. It's worse than this, and this. I thought, well, I don't know if it's worse than those things, but card collecting, it can certainly be an addiction for people. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, on cards as an addiction for people, and how it might compare to another serious addiction or a serious addiction out there like alcoholism. And if you could just, and I mean, this question, just to everybody watching, listening right now, this question isn't as from out of left field as I make it sound. Kurt and I did have a discussion about this, and I know that you found it compelling. So I'd like you to kind of share your thoughts on cards and addiction a little bit, please.
Yeah, man, I love that. Like that's stuff that I am happy to connect with you about, or anybody out here watching this on a one-on-one basis. I don't have time to fly to your house, but anybody's struggling and they're going through some shit, like I'll talk to you. It's I've been through addiction. It's terrible. And I grew up with, like my dad drank too much. I said I'll never be that guy. I turned into that guy, man. I drank pretty much probably every day for my 20s and 30s up into like mid 30s, man. And I was like, sure enough, I turned into what I didn't want to turn into. And you know what? Addiction sucks because it almost fills up all the stuff you're good at and takes it away. And it's like, it starts off as fun. People don't do stuff unless it's fun. So let's say whether it's alcohol, drugs, porn, cards, sex, whatever. I mean, people get addicted to stuff easy. And if you're addicted to anything right now, I know that you can feel a shame and you feel alone, but let me tell you guys, it's a normal thing. There's a reason there's meetings all day, every day in every city and every part of the United States, or hopefully around the world, because it's a human thing. And I was talking to Jeremy and we were talking about like, I don't even know how we got talking about it, but I think that I said that I'm thankful that I'm free of alcohol, because there's no way I could run this business spending half my day buzzed up or drunk. There's no way. I feel that God really like changed my life and put a whole new purpose in my heart and was like, dude, you got there's a time I think in a man's life where the responsible thing is to be responsible, and it was hearing me loud and clear. Like I'm the type of person that could close my eyes and be like, if I could change one thing about me, what would it be? And it was always drinking. It was always drinking. So I really put my rudder in the water 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago now, and I was like, I'm done. And I talked to a lot of people in the hobby because I don't like wear it all over the place and try to like tell people what to do with their lives or whatever. But like if you're struggling with addiction and you need to, whether even if it's card addiction, it's dangerous because like it's just something that I think that it'll take you down. And it's not only does it take you down, but it takes down your mom, your dad, your wife, your kids, whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a serious thing. And I do know, Jeremy, that even based on my DMs with guys, that there's people that are highly addicted to buying sports cards and selling them. And like, and it's I don't like to put my nose in people's business, but as soon as they leave with me a little breadcrumb, I'll say, "You all right? Is there something? Is there anything else on your mind? What's going on?" And I tell you what, dude, I've had some deep conversations with people and some aha moments all through this vehicle of card care. And it's like I tell you, God works in crazy ways. You know what I mean? But it's just like I think I had to go through a bunch of shit to like I don't know, turn more into a man and get more mature and then be able to handle types of responsibilities like this. Because I'd be like, when I was a drinker too, I was a hothead. Like I would, I'd get in a word battle with anybody and try to like win, just to be, and like, I don't know, just, I look back, I wasn't proud of my behavior. I wasn't proud of myself. And I made those changes. So like, if anybody out there is like, if you're getting credit cards with guys that at 0% APR, and maxing them out and setting a deadline of I better sell these cards by the time this APR runs out, the warning signs are on the wall.
Yeah, might
Yep. And just
well.
remember, if you made some bad moves or stuck, it wasn't a life sentence. Get out now while you can. And you know what? If you ever, I can't be everybody's sponsor, but if you ever had any questions, anybody had any questions about like, hey, here's what I'm into. Anybody's allowed to say what's up to me. It's hard to find non-judgmental people that are like right in your inner circle sometimes, so strangers, were a big help for me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing all that. I think it is important. It's a bit off topic from the main theme of the show, but it's part of who you are, and it came through our discussion. So I just wanted to ask you: are there any hobby issues, anything else that you wanted to talk about tonight, Kurt, that we might not have touched on? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but any other topics, any message you want to share with the people watching? We're gonna be on podcast here within a few hours. We're gonna be, this video is gonna live on the YouTube channel forever probably. So anything else you'd like that's on your mind hobby wise? I mean, I'm up to, I see 283 unread comments I have on this episode from the chat, and I don't know what they are because 285 now. I could go there. I don't want to get distracted. I want to stay focused with you here, but we're going to wrap up soon. We're coming up on, we're an hour 33. And I know you told me you didn't think you'd make it 2 hours, but I could tell you probably could now, Kurt. You probably could.
I'm happy, Jeremy. Like, and my message remains the same, guys. Cause like, I don't have a different message for someone that likes card care or doesn't, it's just like, I appreciate you guys watching the show, and I appreciate you just like, I can't tell you what to think, but I can encourage you to hopefully think, and just anybody that found this kind of interesting or intriguing, or like, I'd love to learn more. Feel free to check out my stuff or hit me up with a message. And if it ain't for you and you don't like card care or what I stand for or what I do, that's okay. I'm not mad at you. It's okay. There's a lot of things going on that we have to deal with every day. And if like I said, I can't please everybody, but I'm very happy that I got a great support group, great customers. Card care is taking the steps I believe that are necessary. And just even Jeremy, guys like you that are like said, hey, I'd like to have you on, and it's like, I know how much effort you guys, I'll give this guy, Jeremy here. You guys are watching a good show. This guy is a hardworking dude. Like, he is well-read, reached out to me, shared a bunch of thoughts and ideas, and just like, I tell you, Jeremy, you're one of the good ones. You put a lot of effort into this, and it's just a pleasure to be able to come on your show and be able to talk to all your viewers. And I just really have a lot of respect for you, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I appreciate it. I think most of the people that have sat where you are right now on that side of the screen, you know, are aware that I do like to do this right and put in the work and be prepared and all, you know. I know too, I've had guests on that some of my audience likes, doesn't like, you know, they like their products, they don't, whatever, their companies. But what I'm doing here, you know, and by bringing on any guest doesn't mean that I'm endorsing what they do or denouncing what they do. I'm just, you know, right now, Kurt, you're quite relevant in the hobby. You're out there right now. And I thought, you know what, this is somebody who has a story and has a history and has a background and is a person. And I want to learn about it. I want to learn about it as a lifelong hobbyist who is not going anywhere in this hobby. I'll probably be doing sports cards live till the day I die. Well, maybe not that long, but it's likely, you know, I don't plan on going anywhere. So, you know, it's, you're a hobbyist one way or another. You're a hobbyist and you're part of our ecosystem. You know, some people love it. Some people might think it's not the best thing, but that's okay. Like you said, and none of us are going to please everybody all the time, Kurt. I think, you know, I've had my critics as well, and that's okay. You know, like you said, it's okay. And I don't really care that much. Because here's the thing, Kurt, and this actually is a great segue into another question I have for you, which is, you know, as somebody who's making themselves public, you are opening yourself up to both praise and criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you, what do you get more of? Do you get more praise or do you get more criticism since you've really come public with your Instagram account and Kurt's Card Care?
Yeah, like that's a good question, Jeremy. Like okay, so I worked, like I shared with you, I worked in music and entertainment after, you know, my family had the dealership. I didn't want to sell cars. I didn't want to work on cars. I wanted to get out of that. I wanted to be a rock star, you know, so that didn't totally work out, but I had a lot of great time doing it. So the thing is, you know, you get feedback from your closest buds or people that you operate with. After having a public service where I sell products and teachings and stuff to people, it's like, it's sometimes awkward how nice people are to you. It's like I don't even know how to sometimes handle it. I'm like, God, nobody's ever said thanks to me so many times. Or like collectors will send me little trinkets or mementos. Like, I don't even know if you can see it, but like I got this card mat that somebody made me and sent me in the mail the other day. I got little 3D prints that people make. It's like, I don't even know how I got this lucky. I don't even know how I got this lucky. Now, there's definitely critics or detractors, but I don't go looking for that, and I don't care. I mean, it's just the thing is, I listen to my customers. Like, it's from a business perspective, I got to listen to the people that are on the bus working with me, trusting me, and I am blessed to have an amazing relationship with them. So like, again, I got to live in abundance, man. You know, there's always I can't run after everybody that says you suck or we hate this. You know, I guess, and you know, Jeremy, is the older we get, right? I only have this much energy in one day, and I'm spending like 98% of it right now on customer service, production, managing the ship. You know, so it's like I can't start feeling bad for myself and reading about people that don't like me or watching videos of people that don't like me. It just doesn't fit into my thing, you know. It's in order for me to stay creative, but you know what? I do like it a little bit because I eat it up. I use that crap for fuel. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Watch this. Wait till what I'm going to show you in 2 weeks from now. If you think this is crazy, just hang on. Here we go. You know what I mean? So like, it fires me up, you know, because I'm a very competitive person, and I think that it does, whatever industry you're in, I think it's cool to have a variety of entrepreneurs that bring different things to the table and help shape ideas and practices and culture, and like I said, the market speaks for itself. So I can tell you that a humongous part of the market is very happy to learn these types of skills.
Yeah. We talked about it earlier, you referred to it as the dark side, like counterfeiters and trimmers and that kind of thing. I think you alluded to it, but I don't think I probed it further back, about an hour or so ago. But do counterfeiters reach out to you? Do trimmers reach out to you? Color restoration specialists? Are these people reaching out to you and kind of thinking like, oh, he's gonna kind of be one of my people, and then they find out that you're actually not, you're against those things? Like, how has that kind of worked out for you lately?
Oh yeah, man. Like, I think that I'm a pretty friendly and approachable person. So I don't know if people just think that like I'm open to whatever their agenda is or their ideas, but to all the legitimate, even the people that are watching this that don't like cleaning cards, and the people that do like cleaning cards, guess what? We're all part of the same. We're all, even if you don't like this or don't like this, we're in a different part of the hobby. There is a totally different part of the hobby that I hope that you're not in. Because yes, there are people that have reached out to me to be like, how can I age a card? How can I make it look opposite of what you're doing? How do I do this? How do I do that? I'm like, tell me what you got going on. Oh, I make 1,000 Nolan Ryan rookie cards a month, and I've learned how to weather them down and wear them down. I can sell them for like $425 a piece. And if you want to help me weather, people tell me this stuff, and I'm like, whoa.
Was that an actual example? Was that real? What you just said?
Man. People are weird. There's criminals freaking everywhere, dude. And it's like in the card spaces, you know what I mean? There's like and then what was that recent stuff? Like like people make counterfeit cards. There's cards, like exquisite cards that come out of like China that are as good as the ones that Upper Deck made, and again, people will reach out to you thinking like, hey, I'll sell you all these cards at a low price if you want to sell them. And it's like, dude, who do you think I ain't selling your counterfeit Vogue stuff? You know what I mean? Like, people are criminals are dumb, and they'll say dumb stuff, and I'll distance myself from that so quickly. I'm like, I'm already taking a risk by showing people how to clean cards, because not a lot of people are cool with it right at first. So like, I can't have any of that shit anywhere near me. Like, get away, stay away, go away. Like, if you can't do it with a little bit of card polish or a little bit of card spray or a little corner tool, I'm out. I'm out, because this is what we built this thing on. Is some things are fixable, some things aren't. But money's never been the number one motivator for anything in my life. Being kick-ass and good at stuff has been the number one motivator for me. And if you're usually good at stuff, you can make a living doing it or something like that. But the dark side prioritizes money number one, and extremely morally flexible.
I'm not going to ask you to share the recipe for your card polish or your card spray, because I think that would go against what your trade secrets. But I recently saw somebody put out a tweet or a post on Instagram that said, my wife is a chemist and she reverse engineered Kurt's card spray, and it's nothing more than water and isopropyl. And I got to ask you, Kurt, you said you spent so much time, building and perfecting the recipe. If somebody watched that or saw that tweet or that post on Instagram, wherever I saw that, and mixed together those two ingredients and took it to the cards, could they do damage to their cards?
Sure, man. And you know what? You don't have to be a scientist. I absolutely use a touch of ISO. Like, I use a touch of ISO because a touch of it's fine. It's kind of like, but making a blend with multiple solvents in it, you got to know how to balance this stuff out, because that's where the biggest that's where the biggest thing where people will mess stuff up. And I tell people, you can make your own blends, you can do your own stuff, but you have to understand what works with each other and what complements each other. Because if not, you're going to be in a world of hurt, because I've done it. I've sat through it. I've done it, and it's like, I've had guys sending me some pictures recently where they're like, hey, I soaked a card and it is 4 days later and it looks like it's moldy now. So what's my first question? What'd you soak it in? Oh, I was using some water, and I'm like, "Why didn't you just ask me?" I'm like, "If it was that simple, I would just use water." I go, "I don't care what." I go, "I This is how I learned the hard way." I would get cards to look great for the first 20 minutes, and then as it takes a 4-day dry, they're gonna start molding out, and they're gonna start going bad. And can I get it out? Maybe, you know what I mean? Or so there's I would never encourage any or not discourage people from going out and making formulas, but I tell you what, I'm not gonna pat myself too hard on the back either, but guys, I pine over this. I tweak this stuff. You should see my cabinet of all of the chemicals and all the stuff that I own that I've been infatuated with product building and like formulas forever. I even small story was I'm glad I got out of it because I got into a different line of work. But I wanted to be like at 20 years old. I went to culinary school for a couple of years. I was like, I want to be a chef because I love baking. I love ingredients. I love putting stuff together. And after doing that for a few years, I worked in restaurants. I was like, this whole job will make me insane. So I can't do it. So like, then then my family, like I said, was very good at we made a lot of cool products when we had the body shop and dealership because it was easier to make stuff than sometimes buy tons of it. And I was like, you know what? I know how to make some really kick-ass stuff. I just got to take some of the harsher stuff out of it and, kind of balance it out a little bit easier. And it took a long time because the hardest part of making a cleaning spray was making one that I could soak cards with and putting it on cards. And so, yeah, I would say, guys, go out and do whatever the heck you want. But like, I'm all about the results. Until you show me your 1952 Topps, you know, Mickey Mantle rookie card that I purposely show you guys the most expensive cards in the world being treated to hopefully give you some confidence that it's not just a random concoction over here, but rather pretty damn thought out and obsessed over.
And the chemicals that you use, the touch of ISO that you mentioned, water must be in there. Do any of them stay on the card like after the process is complete, or does it all like 100% of it evaporate?
All evaporate. That's a huge important part. You got to start with your base in mind when you're making formulas like this. Like there is so many things, so many solvents and chemicals that have additives that will stick behind. When we're talking about cleaning up household products or a vehicle or stuff like that, no one cares. But when you're working on delicate little pieces of paper and cardboard, you cannot afford to have anything left behind. And that's like that's like the big picture that like as a developer and a product manufacturer, my big picture is, not only how to make the stuff look good, but how not to like screw it up and leave stuff on it. So yeah, good question, Jeremy. That's a fine question.
And then Kurt, with that said, does that in itself make it impossible for a PSA or an SGC or a BGS or any grading? Does it make it impossible for a grading company to detect that the solution was ever on the card in the first place?
Yeah,
this is a scientific question. Like I don't know the answer.
by
Obviously,
default, I would have to say absolutely, Jeremy, and that's the whole design was in mind because I didn't want to get collectors like you don't want to cut off your nose to save your face. You don't want to like make a card look really good, but then you're like, but I can never grade it or anything like that. I'm not dumb. People like to grade cards. I like to grade cards. You know what I mean? I love the protection aspect of it. So that was key. I didn't want to make something that I wouldn't even do this line of work of people like all my customers are like, dude, all my cards get kicked back to me. I'd feel terrible. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's not makeup.
if you could guess, and you might be the best person to guess this because you see the sales numbers. How many cards do you think are being submitted to grading companies that have been subject to Kurt's Card Care products?
Oh, that's a good question. I would, what would I guess? Probably what, 80, I bet 80% of my customers grade cards, I would guess, because I get a lot of people will tag me or just like shoot me their results because they're excited or whatever and want to show me or shout me out at PSA's headquarters or whatever, however they want to do it. God, and I supply a lot of guys that do tons of submissions. I would say probably, God, I wish I could have solid data on this. I bet you conservatively, Jeremy, probably 20 to 30,000 cards a month.
I was thinking he was going to say 25,000. And I'm like, okay, so that's, if PSA alone is doing 1 million cards a month, you're 1 in every 40 cards coming out of there a month, according to those numbers, may have been through, been subject to some Kurt's card care treatment. That's significant, don't you think?
I do, and I bet you it's probably a conservative number. People love prepping their cards. It's just it is. It just is. It's
It's
people love prepping their cards.
it's I've graded some cards in my life. The most I've ever done to a card personally, Kurt, is that's about all I've ever done before I've had a card graded, because I just never really cared enough to, because I'm usually grading for my PC anyway. I'm not great. I don't know if I've ever graded card. Well, a couple I've graded to sell, but usually I'm grading for my personal collection. So yeah, that's about the extent of what I've done. And even for myself as a collector, and having you on, I've been forced to think about, how do I approach the hobby, knowing that a lot of cards have been through this. And like I said, I've probably got maybe 1 in 40 of my cards have been Kurt's card cared or or another prepping service. And that there's one card once. We saw him in the chat earlier, Mr. Minty. I once gave him a card at the Burbank show to just to clean up before I submitted it to grade. It got graded. I had it graded by PSA. They graded it, no problem. I don't even know what he did to the card, to be honest. He gave it back to me the next day. But that's my experience firsthand, what I've done. And so I've asked myself, where do I fall on this? And the way I can best explain it to you, Kurt, I think I mentioned this to you, but to the audience and you guys who watch Sports Cards Live probably know this already. But for me, the way I explain it, Kurt, and no offense to you or your customers at all, but if I'm at a card show and I see 2, I don't know, let's use Nolan Ryan rookies, and we know they're real, they're not counterfeits, 2 Nolan Ryan rookie cards in PSA slabs, and they're both PSA 6s, and one of them was worked on, one of them wasn't. Myself, as a traditionalist, I'm going to want the one that wasn't worked on. Does that offend you at all, Kurt? Do you have any issue with that?
No, it just tells me I have more work to do.
In terms of what?
In terms of showing people that there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. Cards aren't going to turn into powder or dust in 10 years. There's not and frankly, what are the main things that hurt paper? So through I can lean back on my experience and all the collected knowledge I have in this area. The biggest things that will hurt paper are simple things: sunlight, water, dirt, stuff that they collect over years. So the thing is, say you soak a card and you pull all the grit out of it, and it looks better, it's in better shape. I would, say they're both gonna be in slabs, I think they'll be just fine. But I just think that, I just don't think there's a difference. I don't think that one. I wouldn't go as far as saying the one that wasn't treated is gonna turn. But the thing is, it's okay. No, the answer is no. It doesn't offend me. I don't know how that would be disclosed, or if the guy was like, "Hey, these are both 6s, but just FYI, I prepped this one personally and cleaned it." Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Jeremy, I respect your ability to choose. I don't like people telling me what to do or telling me. There's somebody's always training somebody. You know what I'm saying? So it's when it comes to stuff like that, it doesn't offend me one bit, because there's probably people that would say, "Hey, now that card's been, cleaned up and restored, I'll take that one." So there's
maybe
there's somebody that would probably pick opposite. So you can buy the one that you're comfortable with, and the other person will buy the one that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, and I want to clarify with my example, both of those cards are they look the exact same. You know what I mean? They have the same centering, they have the same corner issues, the same fish eyes on the back or wherever. Yeah. Just to be clear, because I recognize, most people do, that not all PSA 6s are equal. There's a wide range of conditions, and different defects on a card within any grade point, especially as you work down the scale. I think the higher you go, the narrower the margin is, or at least theoretically, that should be the case. You just mentioned disclosure. I want to ask your thoughts on that. Maybe this will be the last one before we just sort of say goodbye. And at that point, I will go look at the last few comments that have come in and just thank everybody for being here, of course. But disclosure, Kurt, and this is something that I've seen a lot of people say. And so this is one I want to get your thoughts on. If you are going, what I hear people say is, if you are going to soak a card or treat a card, rub out a crease, and I don't, is the technical term rub out a crease, or what do you say?
I think it's funny that you said rub out, so I like that.
Shouldn't have said that.
Let's keep it at that. Whatever. I get what you're saying.
If you're gonna, let's just say if you're gonna fix a crease, or you're gonna soak a card, if you're going to use Kurt's Card Care or Mr. Minty or whatever, you're gonna do your own thing, and then you're going to either sell the card raw or get it graded and sell it graded. Is there any? This is what I've heard, that there should be an obligation for those people who are selling those cards to disclose what treatment they performed upon said card. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's like interesting. I mean, like, I'm open-minded. Like, I don't care if people disclose the information. Like, I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, I film these cards from start to finish and I show you my results. So like, I'm pretty damn transparent. So transparency is fine with me. You know, but I don't know how you enforce something. It's not like I can tell you to do that. Like, hey guys, tell people you prepped up your card. I don't know.
Well, you can't enforce it. Obviously, you cannot enforce it. And also, I think because we've established here tonight that, you know, for example, with soaking or spraying, there are no signs that ever happened to the card after it all evaporates. So now you've got the ability to not have to disclose because no one could prove you otherwise. Whereas, you know, disclosures are often made to cover your butt so that when you do get caught, I disclosed it. What are you talking about? Right. I disclosed it. You knew, you indemnified me. You signed off on it. That's often why we have disclosures, right? But if you don't need if there's no way to detect that it happened, then people can say, well, why would I bother disclosing it? No one can detect it. I'm not going to disclose it. That would put me at a financial disadvantage upon sale, let's say. So, but do you think that there's an ethical reason? Or if you were at a card show, Kurt, and you walked upon a table that had, you know, graded cards, and on certain cards there were these purple stickers, or maybe they're the one of the colors of your logo. They put a little sticker on there, and someone said, "What does that sticker mean?" Kurt's Card Care. We treated that card with Kurt's Card Care. What would you think about that? Would you be proud? Would you be kind of like, wow? Would you be like, oh, I don't know? How would you feel about that?
I'd find it very weird, you know, honestly, like, because it's a strange hypothetical for me. Like, I think that it's almost like, so like now, when I listened to the Beckett interview the other day, I thought it was good. So like, what if now? I'll tell you guys, even though people don't want it, some people don't want to hear it. It's almost like me telling a Democrat, like telling a lib to like vote for a Republican or something like that. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. So I could come up with the best words on your show, Jeremy. It ain't gonna. Certain people already made up their mind, right? So the point is, when it comes to this area, what if there was a restoration aspect? PSA, BGS could maybe get relevant again. These companies, what if there was an authentic, because I'll tell you guys this, Kurt's Card Care is Boy Scout card care compared to some of the stuff you could do. Like, so let's say my stuff's being graded and all the stuff that my customers do because it physically isn't there. You're not messing up the card. You prepped it and cleaned it. That's one bucket, okay? But now, let's say I could go out and buy a 1952 Mickey Mantle with pinholes in it, and I could buy Um, wouldn't it be cool? Like, this is all hypotheticals, right? But what if a company came out with color matching paints and all the stuff from that era where it would be obvious that you painted a card. It would be obvious that you did all that stuff to it. So then when you send it to a grader, it's clear that there's new paint on it. You can't be that good to put new paint on a card. It's going to show. 70-year-old paint's different from today's paint. But what if there's a whole category where people could, if they were into altered cards, they could alter them like that, and they were tagged. It said altered, paint added, 6. I think that'd be cool as hell. You know, because guess what? Somebody would buy an altered, paint added 6 because not everybody can buy a $50,000 card. There's a market for everybody. You know, that's a thing. Abundance. There's a market for everybody. So if disclosure goes along with that, all about it. Sure. But the thing is, Kurt's Card Care ain't going to fall into that bucket because it's not getting marked altered anyways. But if you trimmed a card or painted a card, these pros that work at these grading companies, they can smell that a mile away. They ain't fools, you know? So it would be cool if there was, because there's graded cards and then there's altered. Like, why are they all like they're all like the bad toys? You know what I mean? Let's fix them up and clean them up and put them in their own little department. You know, I think it would be a wise move for grading services. I thought it was a cool thought. So maybe in that type of disclosure, Jeremy, where it's like it comes from an official company, if there was a thing for it, but going through a process of prepping a card, cleaning a card, and I tell you what, man, it's pretty normal. You know, it's like more people prep cards and clean cards than I think that anybody realizes, you know, especially from where I sit.
You know, when you tell us about kind of your sales volumes and the retail business, it seems to me like this is something, you know, I titled this episode, you know, Kurt's Card Care is leading the card cleaning movement. I don't know if you're leading it, but you're certainly the face of it right now. I think you're probably leading it. You know, it's becoming apparent to me that it is a lot more prevalent than I thought it was. And call me naive, whatever. It's much more prevalent. I remember, here's a quick story for you, Kurt. I remember I was set up at a show here in Canada, probably 2017, 16. And I had a Maurice Richard, a 1951 Parkhurst Maurice Richard sitting in my showcase in a PSA 4. And this was a show where I actually had a showcase with personal collection cards. So this was my PC card, not for sale unless someone made me an offer I can't refuse. I mean, I can always go replace it if I had to, but I love this copy. And a guy I know who is, you know, I'd say, you know, a regular on the scene came up to me and he said, Jeremy, why don't you clean that up? It's you know, that's easily a 5. I'm like, I don't care. I like the card as it is. I'm not selling it. I'm not going to mess around and take any risks to turn into a 5. I don't care if it's a 5. I'd rather have a strong 4 than a weak 5 in my collection because I respect the card more than I respect the slab, you know? So I was like, but what the purpose of this story is that he walked away and I was like, did that really just happen? Did this guy, who I believe is a very well-respected hobbyist, just tell me that he could, you know, he or somebody could, you know, clean out that, whatever, reduce the impact of that crease, whatever the issue was with the card. I still have the card and it's still not the same 4 holder, I'll tell you. But, you know, I was kind of mind blown that this was going on. And now I wouldn't be so mind blown because I've now been exposed to it and I'm talking to you and I've talked to people and I, you know, hear your sales volumes and people are selling it in stores. It's like, it's out there, it's happening. And I believe that like you said, I believe it's happening more than I ever thought it was. And I'm okay that I didn't know, but it's an interesting time and it's an interesting sort of, place for the overall hobby from the divisive nature, because, you know, when I was looking at the comments earlier tonight, there were people supporting you. There were people in the comments that were not for those processes on cards. And I wonder which is the majority nowadays. I mean, I feel like the traditionalists are still going to be the majority, but I don't know how long that's going to last. And that's just, you know, me thinking for myself and what I think is going on in the greater hobby right now. Any response to that?
Yeah, a couple of things, you know, like, again, like of all things, I devoted, years to working on cards, and I'm glad I did because it helped me do a lot of cool things I'm proud of. But like, I also thought that I really felt this nudge, Jeremy, to step up and bring this out because one of my biggest concerns is like I feel that I am a whatever what's the word that we've used, something like a person that the purist. I feel like I'll make you an argument that I'm a purist. I love these things so much that I want them to look in their purest form like they did when they were brand new. Like
Yeah.
I'll call myself that. And the thing is, I thought since there was no standard for card care and it was a bunch of kind of like whispers or people policing each other when it doesn't go in their favor or something like that, it's like, just think if like I said, I got critics, I get it, but I got tons of love and tons of support. Just think of another guy sitting in my seat came up with this stuff that was like a total put money first, always, and like did everything and pushed us down people's throats and was like made shady stuff and made crappy products and just like came in and just like bastardized this. And then nobody would give card care a shot ever again. All it takes is one person, some loud mouth to come in and buy all the advertising and come in and just like probably an outsider that doesn't know anything about cards come in and just I felt it's like someone was going to jump into this and start like because I've always been around card care and I know tons of people that are into it. And I was like, if I don't go up and lead this thing up, somebody's gonna get in here and just try to look like a fool doing this, and it's gonna screw everything up, and then we're gonna be back in this corner of like, oh, it's just a bunch of like hacky stuff. So like what I think that proper card care like this, Jeremy, helps people stay in the hobby and it gives them another outlet. Because think about it, you have a podcast and a video cast that keeps you probably in the hobby still. Because if you don't have another outlet besides buying and selling and trading, I'll speak on behalf of all of us. It can get old after a while. It can get stale. And I bet you every collector, even if you call yourself a lifelong collector, you've probably gone through phases where you were in or out or not as motivated, or people have gone into breaks or card razzes or buy boxes. Now with card care and like starting to get like some boundaries on this stuff better and some proof that it works, it's all about the results. You know what I mean? So the proof that it works, I think that this, and I not think this is the feedback I get every single day is, hey, now I can go out and confidently buy stuff that I want to work on. It keeps me in the hobby. I like searching for beat up cards and abandoned cards now more than anything else. Now I can buy, it's way more from because chances are if you buy a 4, you're not going to turn it into a 2. You might not turn it into a 6 or a 7, or you might not even grade it. But the point is, this card care, there are so many people out there, Jeremy, like me, that have busy hands that like to sit and do little projects. Maybe some guys like to go through and buy a bunch of stuff on auctions. Other guys could sit here confidently with a stack of 1966, Batman cards and go through the whole box like I plan on doing. You know what I mean? So it's just like as soon as we think we know what everybody's doing or how everybody thinks, that's a sign of being so out of touch. So I don't know what everybody's doing. I don't know what everybody thinks, but I do know that based on the people that communicate with me, buy from me, and trust me, that card care is a huge bonus and has added, a lot of enjoyment and a lot of like just good things for them personally. And we need that. You know what I mean? It sucks to have people get in the hobby for like 2-3 years and burn out and fade away and go away. And it's a transient hobby. Like people that get into like musicians are pretty much lifelong people. People that collect automobiles and like I grew up with a bunch of mechanics and race car drivers and stuff like that. They didn't get in and out of hot rods. These guys were motorcycle builders, car builders. They devoted their lives to it. But this hobby, we can go float in and out of it. I think adding a restoration element, just like adding a restoration element to any other hobby, is what keeps people involved in that hobby. Name any one of them, and like care is a part of it. You know what I mean? So I will make a strong case and back it up that this type of work is going to keep people in this hobby more and bring more people, happiness and satisfaction from being in it. I see it. That's just a result of what I do and getting the messages that I get. And I can say firsthand, it's helped me through a lot of it because there's times where I was just bored of buying stuff. But can I work on something and impress myself and think it's cool? Yeah, I can, and that's valuable to me.
All right, Kurt. Listen, we're at the 2 hour, 10-minute mark here. I'm 450 449 comments behind. We've got almost 80 people watching on Twitter, about 130 on YouTube, about 11 right now on Instagram. And so obviously people are still tuned in. And but I think, what do you think? Do you want to wrap up, or do you want to should I go to some comments and see what's going on? What do you think?
I mean, whatever you think, man. I mean, if I don't want to wear out my welcome, but if there's anything that's thoughtful or whatever that somebody had a legitimate, question about, I'm cool with it.
All right. Well, here I've got a few that I had starred earlier, like I can put a little star in, but these are already from almost 2 hours ago. So I apologize to the people who are here live, but for those of you listening on podcast or watching the future, it doesn't matter as much. Foul Five Ball here asks, Kurt, have you ever ruined a card? If so, did you post a video of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think we did talk about it a little bit. Guys, I will buy cards every year and see how long it takes to like make them split apart, or how hard you got to push on them to get the colors to go away and stuff like that. So I purposely ruin cards, not good ones, but like I grab usually one of every card each year and just see what it takes to push it to the limits. But unexpected surprises, fortunately, knock on wood, not a lot. And then on behalf of my customers, I will definitely have customers say, "Hey, man, I think I might have put, I got some polish that dried on my card. Do I scratch it off or do I get it off?" Usually, thank God, I think people take my best practices seriously, because I think about those all day, every day. They're on my site. They're on the confirmation letters, all over the videos. So that's a great question, by the way, Foul Ball 5. So thank you for asking that. And yes, when I started working on cards, little things, man, like when I started using my plastic plates, I don't know if you guys ever seen me use my plates, but there was a time where I put cards between plates and I'd like holding them and making them like rest and stuff like that. There's times where I didn't realize that a paper card, if it got warm, it would stick to the front of that plate. Man, I took that plate off, ripped the whole front off. Basically, everything I've taught you guys, I've taught you for a reason, because I didn't do it that way the first time and I screwed something up. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, good. Interesting.
You have to fail at this. You have to fail at this. You have to make mistakes. Not you as my potential people out there, like listen to me and learn from me. But like, yes, it's definitely doable.
Andy E said, Kurt, could you tell me how long it took you to perfect the process for Kurt's Card Care and how many cards you tested it on before going public?
That's a good one, Andy. Well, I think I made my first rounds of stuff in 2010-ish. So like I gave a few of my friends like some of the stuff, like early on, but like before selling to strangers, thousands of cards, thousands, because I'm an anxious person to begin with, and I was always like, if I let somebody down, I'm gonna freaking barf, you know what I mean? So like a lot of privately, and then I worked on people's cards privately for probably 4.5 years. So a lot. Yeah, that's a good question, Andy. I just that's my biggest concern.
Ben Deho said, have you ever worked on a 52 mantle?
Oh yeah. A lot of times. Yep.
Vintage Card Collector asked, have any of the grading companies reached out asking questions about your products and potential long-term effects?
No.
Interesting.
But customers have, but I don't think the grading company, I mean, I'd like to be friends with them. I'm a customer, but I mean, no, they don't really talk to me.
When you submit cards yourself to the grading companies, do you do it under your name?
Yeah. But I was wondering, like, I wonder if they'll if they know my name, will they be like, we're gonna grade them extra hard now, or give you a low score,
or just scrutinize maybe and look for the.
But no, I'm a good customer, so yeah, I haven't had any problems. Again, I'm not trying to hide out. Like, I'm the opposite of hiding out. You know what I mean? I film everything and I talk. I've never had a grading company give me. I don't think. Sometimes I got a couple low scores that I thought were questionable, but nothing. I don't feel like I'm getting screwed over.
Bobby Burrell made a comment again. This is 2 hours ago. Although this has been going on for decades, Kurt is the first one who went public. The rapid rolling hobby river has many tributaries. And I don't know if you know Bobby, but he's written books on the hobby, several. He's a historian and an all-around great Great hobbyist. Okay, so that's earlier. I'm gonna, for the first time in a while, go to some of the more recent comments, and I'm not seeing much that I'm gonna be able to use here. So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time really seeing all sorts of weird talk about stuff that I don't think has much to do with the show here. Here's one. Dan the Card Man said, Jeremy, can you ask about the wax/polish leaving a residue? You only asked about the spray. That's a good, I'm glad I caught that one from Dan. Over to you, please, Kurt.
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I'm glad that Dan asked. So, if you ever use card polish and you don't get it all off, it dries bright white. So I do it like that purposely so you see it. So like if you left any on the card, it's going to be bright white. So you don't want to do that. So like if that ever happened, you simply wipe it off. So no, there's not any sort of residue, because one thing that I use religiously is black lighting and the negative light spectrum, so I can see if there's any residues. You know, it's a funny thing, Jeremy, that I think people did maybe in the 70s and 80s on paper cards, was use soap to clean them. So like vintage collectors out there, you know, it's spend the $10, get one of these black light, okay? And if you shine your black light on your cards and you see a bunch of weird glowing spots and you're like, the card looks good, what the hell is all this? Soap glows weird under black lights. So like, just I'd encourage everybody to inspect it, whether you like card care or don't. Just make sure you're not wasting your time sending cards to people covered in soap. So yeah, that's something I'm highly sensitive of, and that's why I built my formula the way I did, so it doesn't leave any sort of residuals or any junk on your card that you don't want.
Okay, good. I was just scrolling comments. I didn't see a lot really to work with, but I did find one here. Where did it go? Oh, darn it. Maybe I didn't. Oh, yeah. Midlife Sports Card said restored books are listed as restored. Restored art is disclosed as restored. If he or anybody is restoring cards, why shouldn't it be disclosed? That's an interesting angle, Kurt, I think, and it's a good sort of rebuttal to what you said earlier. I think it's I'd like to hear your thought, and I agree with this. Like, as a consumer, as a collector, I do want to know if my cards, what they've been through, when they've been treated, let's say. You know, the reason why I said that slowly is because you could have a card that's completely organic in its history, and you don't, it could have been in the mud, it could have been in a pocket, it could have been through all sorts of weird things, and you'd never know, and you wouldn't expect to know.
Right.
But like Midlife says, and other people I think would feel the same way, as soon as you run it through Kurt's Card Care, it seems to have a different sort of stigma attached to it than just like those, it's like I said to you the other day, Kurt, alteration to me, if you are removing a crease or you're flattening out a dinged corner, well, you're actually reversing the original alteration. That card was first altered when it was creased or when the corner was dinged. That was the alteration. If a kid wrote their initials on the back of a card in pencil, that's the first instance of alteration. If you're removing that, that's the second instance of I'm not saying it isn't I'm not saying either of those are or aren't alteration. Maybe I am saying that. I am saying that maybe they're both alteration. But, as a consumer, I would want to know. I'm just saying that out. I'm just putting that out there too. Sure. I would want to know for whatever reason. So to Midlife's comment here, are you personally, would you be against a movement that would say, listen, Kurt, we're okay if everybody uses your product, but disclose it, and then the hobby ethical thing to do would be to tell the grading company, whose then process would be to put a qualifier on it, or sometimes they'll say altered, or they'll say authentic, or they'll say whatever they say. Maybe they would then say, cleaned or treated or whatever that terminology would be. I don't know. But like, I wouldn't be against that as a hobbyist, just like I'm not against when PSA says altered on the card. The only thing I'm against when PSA puts altered on the cards, they don't tell you how it was altered. That's like, but don't tell me it's altered, but not tell me how it was altered. Like you're giving me 10% of the information there. That's a different issue. I would like to know that. And I think that if the grading companies could somehow get on board to work with you or your products and your customers, again, by adding a disclosure, I wouldn't be against that. Would you be against that or for it or indifferent?
I'm indifferent. It's like, because I think the question is like, why shouldn't it be disclosed? I didn't say it shouldn't, but the point is, like, how are you going to keep tabs on, like, cards are bought, sold, and traded so quickly that, I mean, let's just be realistic, guys. Like, let's be realistic too. Like, sure, I don't care if you tell somebody. I'm proud if you say, hey, look how good I made this card look. And I just use this guy Kurt stuff and look at it, it's freaking beautiful. Great. Tell them. I don't have any problem with that. But I don't know. I'm a manufacturer. I can't tell you what to say and how to say it and then what to do and grading companies don't talk to me. I'd be dumb. As you know, Jeremy, I'm not hard to get a hold of. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't, here's the thing. I don't think I can when I read it, it's like restored books are listed as restored, restored art is disclosed as restored. Now, that could be a fact, but like what constitutes restored with a book and with art? Now, are you adding paint? What are you doing to it? I'm not doing any of those things. So it's like, if we're gonna use data for this, it's got to be very, very specific. Like,
right.
Let's paint a better picture than this, because
You're right.
This is vague.
You're right, Kurt, because and I'm not in midlife sports cards head, but I'm guessing that they know a bit about books, and I don't know where that line is between restoring and say cleaning or preserving, those sorts of things. But if you're taking an original piece of art and you are going to soak it in art cleaning solution that doesn't damage the art, doesn't remove any of the paint, and that evaporates completely, is that restoring or is that cleaning? I don't know the definition of restoring for books. Maybe it's adding, filling in a hole on the canvas, or where the corner stretches around the canvas stretches around the wood frame and there's a hole pokes through. Maybe they're adding fabric back or however they would do that. I have no idea. But is to midlife's point, maybe, and I think I agree with midlife. Yeah, I think I would like a restored card to be disclosed as such, and I think that like the PSAs of the world can actually, that's what they say is authentic or altered, because the pinhole was filled in or the corner was built back up or the color was added back. To me, that is restored,
right?
Well, or very poorly. But if you're just cleaning that Mona Lisa or that Jackson Pollock, whatever, you're just cleaning it, are you restoring it?
Right. And then the other thing is, like, book restoration experts are highly respected, highly paid, highly coveted. Art restoration experts, highly paid, highly coveted, highly respected. Now, does that mean that if we're going to be disclosing card care, now are we all of a sudden highly respected and we're all in now, and now it's a thing? Because I imagine if we get to this disclosure part, that's like getting to third base real quick. What happened at first? What happened at second? Tell me the other steps. There's more to this story. So is it like, now is it all legit? And now, sure. I mean, that's a beautiful part about the future. It's coming. And we're gonna find out.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm just scanning comments now to see if there's anything that is a good question or comment. Splendid said, I just drank another bottle of Kurt's.
I would read the label on the back. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Splendid. Don't do that. You're welcome, Foul Fireball. I'm glad I caught that one, for taking some comments. It's been okay. I see a question. Thank you to our moderator for pointing me. I'm going to go look for that right now. See if I can find that comment from Lashwine. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but he points out one that came in I think that's a while ago. I hope that's my time, Lash. I hope that's my time. I'm going to try and, oh, is this it here? You can clean and press a comment. Why? Hold on. Let me just, I can't see the whole thing. Why is that acceptable in that community, but not in this one? Is that the comment? Yeah, that's the comment. Thank you, Lash. Thank you. So you can clean and press it. Yeah, I think we kind of talked about that earlier, but here we are. Kurt, do you want to just mention it again?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool thing. I think it's not acceptable yet, because you know what? Like, you guys can and I wish I knew the guy's name, because there was like I think a singular guy that stepped up in the comic community and said, "Look what I can teach all of you how to do." And he took probably a boatload of shit and a lot of stuff that went in for him to have the courage to show people how to restore these books. And now it's like a standard. Do you know that guy, Jeremy? Do you know that it's like, I read a bio on the guy. He had a remarkable story.
I don't. I'm not sorry, and I'm a tad distracted as I'm just running through some of these. So no, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, there's a comic book guy that really, I think, there's your viewers are smart people. I'm sure they probably know the guy, but like, there was a guy that stood up and said, "Hey, here's how you work with these materials, and here's how I've come to learn how to respect them and make them look great again." People don't like it, but then people did like it, because it became popular and it became accepted. Like, as soon as like a company that people like respects says it's okay, it's almost like then people are, "Oh, it's okay now it's okay." Like, I need some people like here in Michigan. Like, I'll tell you something. It's like, it is what it is. It's just, I've always just been a free thinker, but like, I remember there was like when weed became legal in Michigan, there's people that never smoked weed in their life, and now weed's legal. And they're like, "Well, now I can smoke it." I'm like, "Why? Because the freaking government told you it was cool to smoke weed now? Like, really? Like, you needed somebody's permission?" But they did. They needed someone's permission. So maybe just, maybe people respect the grading. But I remember when the grading companies came out, you guys, nobody liked them or respected them. They thought it was a racket, and probably people still do. You know what I mean? But like, it's a common thing, and people like it now. So it just takes a movement. Nothing changes overnight.
Okay. Thank you for that. And here's David Kaplan says, if you accidentally spill coffee on a card and then you wipe it off, is that card restored? Are you supposed to let the coffee stain the card permanently? It's an interesting scenario. I'll tell you, if I drink coffee here at my desk and I have cards on my desk, and thankfully I've never spilt my coffee on my cards. But if I did, the first thing I'm going to look for is a roll of paper towel to absorb that off of my precious cards. And I'm going to be really, really mad at myself. But what are your thoughts on this, if any?
I mean, and that's another reason why I don't really like give any effort, time, or response to like negative, like this shoot your mouth off critics, because they can be picked apart so quickly, Jeremy. Like, like we said, like I even might have said this to the other, like, well, let's just role play for fun. You're eating a piece of pizza and you're opening up your new Upper Deck cards, and you get to the counter Bedard and you cough because you're freaking excited and you shoot pizza sauce all over the front of counter. Tell me you're the truth right now. You gonna wipe that pizza sauce off counter?
Of course I am.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, but what about 8 years from now? Is it okay to wipe off the counter pizza sauce 8 years from now, or is it like the 5-second rule? Yeah.
See, well, the great, you set that up well. And it's I think yeah, to me it's okay to wipe off that pizza sauce if I didn't notice it at the time. And now here I am and I'm inspecting my card. Maybe someone has sent it for grading and I see a little chunk of tomato sauce on there. I'm probably going to try and take it off. Like, thankfully I've never spit pizza sauce or really anything on a card, but I got to think I'd probably want to wipe that off, especially if I'm going to send it in for grading.
And then if you have like a safe little formula that will make it come off in 2 seconds, you're not a bad guy. You're smart. You're just taking care of your stuff. That's it.
Yeah, I mean that's a way to look at it, and I can see that. I can see that position. I also see that there are people who would say no, that crosses the line. And does it cross the line or not? I mean, I
want to give those people a lie detector test because they're lying.
Yeah,
it's bullshit. It's a lie. It's a lie, But the thing is, if somebody ever came out with an opinion or a hot take on anything, and especially if they made it on the internet, they will never change it. it will always, they will put their heels in the ground and just try to find new ways to fearmonger and new ways to, like, come up with a new story or something like that. But I mean, that's humans.
Exactly. Okay. Ace baseball card said, I might have missed this. Is Kurt going to patent his product? So then I assume he'd feel comfortable with the ingredients being listed.
Yeah, there's no reason to patent anything like this. Patents, like when it comes to formulas, have all been done. And patents also create like an easy way for a workaround. So there's really no, here, I'm close to this. I got one patent. It's my utility patent. This is in the final stages. So there's a patent in there. And you know what? There's a reason why and you guys, I hope you notice, I share so much. It's like I give free advice, customer service, products. Like I give, man. But like there is a reason why I keep a tight lip on everything, because I don't know where the future is going to go. And I do expect big things for this, and there is going to be a time where things we're going to have to adjust or move. But until then, it's just like you can either trust me and buy stuff from me or don't. Either one's fine. But a patent is, I got a utility patent, hopefully on the final stages with this. So what a utility patent will do for me, at least, will prevent people from stealing from me or ripping me off, because I've seen a couple other card care companies that popped up, and use very similar words as mine, and kind of almost trying to tell you the same story, and then make something like this and even call it the card tool. Like, it makes me inside just want to barf. I'm like, dude, get an original thought, pal. But the point is, go ahead and take it for now. But the thing is, hopefully when that utility patent rolls through, I'll be able to, I'll have the lockdown on anybody making something called a card tool that is utility was to fix edges and corners. So I got in front of that a long time ago.
Greggy says, Jeremy, do not have liquids near your cards, please. Yeah, I know, but sometimes, I like my coffee and I like my cards, coffee and cards. Bob Boozle here says, stains are good. Embrace the stain. And Splendid said, I like the stains on my 1914 Cracker Jack card. It tells the story. And like, I do too. I'm with these guys, Kurt. On a vintage card, like a tobacco card that might have some of those dark little circular stains on the back. Like, I don't want those coming out of the card. I want those there. That, to me, that's part of that's the hobby right there, is the history and how they were distributed and what they came out of, and the tobacco that they were rubbing up against. I think that's why I like my vintage cards to look their age. But
and the good news is you can't even really get all that stuff out anyway. So like, the tobacco and stuff on the Cracker Jack cards, it's not even tobacco, it's candy, because it came out of a Cracker Jack box. You know what I mean? But it's like the candy stains on the back of, I have probably a dozen 1914 Cracker Jack cards. And you know what? You can get the dirt off of them, but the old candy stains are going to remain. So if you want the dirt gone, but you still want the candy stains on there, that's okay. I respect that.
Brendan Ryan said, Kurt, what's the oldest card you have worked on?
1887. Allen and Gentner. It's one of my favorite restorations ever. It's on my YouTube or whatever social channels I have. I have YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, but it was 1887 Allen Genters, and it was dirty and it was stained, and it was amazing. It was very, very, very cool. So 1887 would be the oldest.
Adam Elf said, distilled water, how does it hurt or affect a piece of cardboard?
I mean, that's just a vague statement. I mean, what are you doing with the distilled water? Just touching it? I don't know.
Okay, no, but if the question is,
I use distilled water in my humidor. I spray the heck out of the walls of that humidor. I fill that thing up. So I use distilled water every day with humidity and stuff like that. So it helps if you use it, in a humid situation. I would just wanted to know. I'm not sure.
I see a comment from Bob Boozle. I must extend my condolences to the John Mangini family if he in fact did pass away, but I can't imagine that's true. But if he did, my condolences to the Mangini family for sure. Okay. All right. Listen, Kurt, thanks, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. with myself and the audience here. You know, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
Hey, it was awesome to connect with you, man. And you know, as a person that's always available, you know, to my customers and stuff, I do try to keep a little bit more of a low profile. I mean, if people need me, they can reach out to me. But it was nice to come on your show, and you know, it was cool just to come out and check it out. And it was I appreciate the hospitality, man. I hope that you know, those tuned in, you know, enjoyed our conversation. And I appreciate you I just, to all my customers out there and supporters out there, guys, I love you from the bottom of my heart, and I just couldn't do it without you. And just, I appreciate you guys giving me the best job in the world, and I take it seriously.
All right. Well, thank you, Kurt. You know, I appreciate that. And it is important to me that no matter who my guest is, what they do in the hobby, how anyone else in the hobby looks upon my guest on this show, that I treat you with respect. I don't have to agree with what you do. I don't have to like it. But I do. My intentions are to make you comfortable, at least while you're here. So maybe you'll want to come back at some point, you know, if I invite you, and that you enjoy yourself. And for the most part, the audience on Sports Cards Live for the last, we're 4 years in now. In 3 days, it'll be 4 years since doing this show. And I got to give a big shout out to my loyal audience for knowing and just respecting you tonight and all the guests that I've had, you know, over the past 4 years. So thank you to the chat and to the audience again, as always. I do greatly appreciate you all joining. And I know some of you had some trepidation on this, but that's okay. You know, like agreement is not required to watch this show or at all. But what is required is respect. Is just respecting, you know, this platform, because the reason why I get the best guests in the hobby is because they come on and they feel like they were respected. Whether or not you do that, whether or not you respect them or not, doesn't really matter to me. It's what you show here when you are consuming this content. And again, for that, I'm just so grateful for the very awesome audience and chat, Kurt, here that we have on Sports Cards Live. So thank you to everybody for that. Going to read out a few of the final comments, Kurt. I'll give you final word and then we'll wrap up. Adam Elf said, distilled water does nothing to a card long-term. Ask a chemist that question and they will even tell you distilled water is water that is stripped down from its minerals, leaving just H2O. Learn something every day. Josh Giddy says, Kurt is a hobby legend. Adam Elf says, thanks for the show. And thank you, Kurt, for your amazing products. The Professor, Kurt has extensive card structure knowledge from a very practical view. He is a card engineer. Very interesting. Bob Boozle is giving me some credit. Thank you, Bob Boozle. Justin Bode says, we love your story. Love you, man. Much respect. Dude, I respect you. Nice comment from Justin. Josh Giddy, you the man. Kurt. Travis Trail, thank you, Travis, for being here. RIP to John Mangini. That's tragic. Taylor Laurie, thank you for that comment, Talon. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Adam Elf. Thank you for the game. Turpin Forcer, that is correct. That is correct. Thank you, Lapper. Good to see you, buddy. Justin, much appreciated. Philly Joe, thank you for being here. Thank you, Yankees fan. Thank you, Dan the Card Man. Thank you, Foul 5 Ball. Thank you, Dave Kaplan. Canucks win. Vancouver Canucks. Appreciate that. Brett Miles says, I appreciated the conversation this evening. As always, an enjoyable show. Huge respect, Jeremy. Thank you, Brett. Greatly appreciate. Thank you, Mike Nunya. Much appreciated. That's the end of the comments for now, Kurt. So final word over to you, and then we are done.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate everybody watching, you know, and I sincerely respect everybody that I think here's something I want to remember. Everybody that collects cards, I bet you we have a little bit more in common than not, you know. So I respect everybody's choice to do with the hobby what they choose to do, as long as it's you know, not the out of bounds stuff. You know, take good care of yourself, take care of other people, take care of your cards. That's all I think that we can really you know, ask for. But I sincerely think that the collecting community is like no other, and I'm lucky to be a part of it. And it's been, you guys, quite a quite a lifestyle change for me from being a behind the scenes card care guy that made a few things that he liked to work with, now being, kind of just part of this in a bigger capacity. And again, I take it seriously, and I just appreciate you check out the conversation. So I hope it was easy to understand. And if anybody has questions for me anytime, feel free to reach out, man. I respect you guys, and I'm not a hard person to get a hold of.
Appreciate those words. Kurt, fallifiable, entertaining for sure. Thank you. His name is Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy. Brendan Ryan says, live stream excellence, Jeremy. And Dan the Card Man settles me down. John Mangini is alive and well. Okay, that's good to hear. Welcome back, John Mangini. Appreciate that. And Brett Miles. And I want to shout out Lash Wine for taking care of the chat for me. I had a feeling it might get out of hand. And so thank you for that very, very much. All right, guys. Again, thank you for joining the show. We'll be back next week, as always, for the Toronto Expo preview and Let's Get Excited episode. And it'll be 2 Saturdays off in a row after that, as I'm at the Toronto show and then the Edmonton Expo. And then we'll be back at it yet again here on the Sports Cards Live channel. If you're not yet subscribed and all that, please do. You can hit the like if you want, but I don't get too hung up on likes. But definitely, please hit subscribe and check it out. And I want to thank you, Kurt, for bringing some of your customers to the show tonight and exposing myself and my platform and my content to them. So I want to welcome all the new people here tonight. Glad to have you. And, check it out. We cover lots of different topics here on Sports Cards Live regularly. Thank you to the Curmudgeon. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that. Bob Boozle. Thank you, Greggy F. Thank you, Lash Wine. Thank you as well. Guys, with that, this episode of Sports Cards Live on April the 13th, 2024 is now over.